Peter Parker grunted a bit as he watched Norman Osborn as he tossed his weapon back and forth in his hands. The young teacher and part-time photographer was currently on the top tier of the Brooklyn Bridge. Off to one side he could see his best friend Johnny Storm trading potshots with Marco Flint. All four of the people were better known under their other guises though of Spider-Man, Green Goblin, Human Torch, and Sandman. Green Goblin cackled from his demonic-looking glider as he tossed his pumpkin bomb toward the wall-crawling vigilante. While the hero was dodging the explosive, the green and purple-garbed figure was fiddling with a device. He watched as the hero flipped off of the side of the bridge and fired the device in front of the hero. He watched as a portal seemed to snap open and swallow Spider-Man up. His laughter was short-lived though, as webbing shot out of the portal and blinded him. Without being able to see, he lost control of the glider, slammed into one of the cables on the bridge before falling the rest of way into the river. The device that had created the portal slipped from his hands and fell into the river. The villain snarled a bit as he summoned the glider toward him. Once he was back on it, he rocketed away. He had finally won. "Spider-Man!" Johnny, the Human Torch, exclaimed, as he rushed toward the portal only to watch helplessly as it snapped itself shut before he could manage to get there. The adventurer quickly slapped the communicator he wore on his chest into the on position. "Reed, I need you to get out here now with your gizmos and gadgets. We have a portal problem." Sandman looked between the hero and escape and decided that it would be better to leave the young man to his work of trying to find his friend than in trying to renew their fight. He quickly shifted back into sand and simply fell into a passing truck and disappeared. The anxious Human Torch ignored the fleeing villain as he focused on staying in this spot, hoping that the portal would snap open again, shooting Spider-Man out. Hours later, there were several heroes that had come by searching for the trail that the portal had taken, but were coming up empty in their search. Reed Richards, Dr. Strange, Iron Man, Forge, and Ant-Man had all come up with nothing from their various scans. Villains such as Dr. Doom and Baron Zemo, who while they disliked Spider-Man, had a certain amount of respect for the hero, and the idea that he would owe them for saving them had gotten them to try. They had the same amount of success, though, as everyone else seemed to have. Wherever Spider-Man had disappeared to, he had left little if any trail for anyone else to follow. Without Osborn and his teleportation device, there is nothing more we can do, Doom declared as he looked at the assembled figures that had gathered to figure out what they should try next. It would be best if you were to accept the loss of your ally and continue on with your lives. The one known as Spider-Man is either dead or lost within the fold of reality. Spidey wouldn't do that to us. No way I'm doing that for him. A flaring Human Torch returned to the armored figure in anger. Iceman, Wolverine, Daredevil, and Firestar all nodded their heads in agreement with the youngest member of the FF. "We're going to do our best to find and rescue Spider-Man." Doom, Captain America, returned to the armored dictator. "Now you can either help us or you can get out of the way." "Bah." Doom returned to the hero. "The annoying arachnid is gone, and you are merely going to have to accept that little detail of life." "Really, Victor? And how many times were you killed or lost in alternative places?" Reed Richards questioned his nemesis. "The difference is that Spider-Man has nowhere near my intellect or strength of will, though." Doom returned to his hated rival. "If you wish to continue with this fruitless and pointless search for one who is gone through, be my guest. Without the device, though, the task is impossible. There are simply too many places that a portal could have sent him. We don't know if we should be searching alternate realities or if we should be searching other spectrums or phases of this reality. Without knowing these things, there is little that can be done to figure out where he has gone." The dictator then stormed out with his cape billowing behind him. Baron Zemo nodded his head in agreement. "Je man be correct. Jura's nosing more to do than to tell his family." Johnny looked like he was ready to lunge at the man but was being held back by his friend. "Not now, kid," the rocky figure of Ben Grimm told his teammate. "You ain't going to get anything from beating on him now, no matter how enjoyable it would be." The elemental being nodded his head in agreement before turning away from the man. "Reed?" he questioned hopefully. "We're not done looking, Johnny, but it will take a lot longer than we originally thought," Reed Richards explained. "The reason we're having so much trouble with it, though, is because that it was an extremely unstable portal. Even once we get the right frequency, there's no telling what kind of effects that it might have had on Spider-Man. Doom was right in the fact of not knowing where the portal was supposed to send him makes it even harder though. Johnny nodded his head in acceptance of what the man was saying before he stalked off. The others could only shake their heads at the hero as they focused on trying to find the jokester. In another dimension, village of the Leaf Hokage's office. The third Hokage was in the middle of doing something that every person that gained the office hated. The dreaded daily paperwork that they all were forced to deal with. A portal opened in front of the third, and the old man moved with a swiftness that few would have believed that he was still capable of as his umbu guards dropped from their hiding places and landed between the swirling mass and their leader. "What is it?" one of the ninja questioned curiously as no attack seemed to come out of it. "I do not know," the ninja known as the professor admitted to his guards as he examined it. It looked similar to a chakra barrier but lacked the feel of any chakra. Then there was the fact that it was only on one side near his desk. If it had been an attempt to capture him, then it was clearly deficient attack. As quickly as it had formed, the swirling thing spat something out, and then disappeared. The ninja cautiously stepped forward and saw that the thing that had landed in front of them was a young child. The boy appeared to be no older than 7 or 8 and was dressed in an oversized red and blue uniform that was similar to some of the clothes that shinobi wore, with insect-like symbols on the front and back of them and an interesting web-like design as well. He also wore a mask that, like the rest of his clothes, were much too big for him. The mask had odd places for the eyes that were made out of an unknown reflective white substance that he couldn't identify. "What shall we do with him, Lord Hokage?" one of the umbu questioned the man curiously. "Take him to interrogation, but tell them to treat the boy gently and that I want someone to oversee his questioning." The old man told them with a warning in his voice that the ninja nodded their understanding to as they disappeared in a blur of speed as they took the boy to be questioned. It was several hours later when a ninja finally returned with a report for the old man. "Well?" he questioned, as he lit his pipe up and looked the ninja over questioning. "The boy has no memory, sir," the ninja returned. "He has a few flashes, and knows things that no one I know of has heard of. But the memories that go along with the knowledge is gone," the ninja explained to the third. "He has highly developed chakra coils, and basic training or knowledge of most of the basics that ninja should have. When the Yamanaka interrogator went into his mind, there was next to no memories, but he's a trove of knowledge once you can get past his defenses, that is." "Defenses?" the third questioned with interest. "I thought that there were no known defenses against the Yamanaka mind jutsus?" "So it was thought, Lord Hokage." The ninja agreed, however. "This boy, though, has managed to do just that." "I see. And what has the boy told you about himself?" The ninja shook his head at this. "The boy is very confused at that, and has given us the strange name of Parker as his family name, and Peter as his personal name." "I see. And what of his attire?" "Nothing is known about any of the objects that he had on him, sir, nor could we determine where they were manufactured. We have inspected everything on the clothes and compared them to everything in our records. The crest upon his chest and back are like none that are in any of the city archives. We also asked the Aburame clan for any help in identifying the symbol, but other than saying that it is similar to a spider and that there are no known spider-using clans, they have had nothing to offer. The boy also appears to have an unknown Kekii Genkai. Is that so?" the old man questioned with interest. "Yes, sir, the boy already has strength levels that are several times stronger than an adult shinobi. His gymnastic skill already exceeds a trained shinobi. He can stick to walls without using chakra, and he has some sort of ability to sense attacks. It is similar to the byakugan, except he cannot see the attack, only reacts to attacks. As I said earlier, he has assorted levels of knowledge. His reading and writing skills, though, are odd. He was taught in an unknown language and will need to be taught to read from scrolls." "I see. Very well, put him in the academy for now. If his chakra reserves are as high as you say, he could prove to be quite a valuable asset to us," the old man said knowingly. "Have someone keep an eye on him and set him up in one of the abandoned apartments. Who knows, this could be just the sort of thing that Naruto needs," the man said optimistically as he chewed on his pipe. "Place him in the same building as Naruto, unless he objects for some reason. Be sure to have someone keep an eye out for him, though I would rather be cautious with this new boy than to allow him to be free in his access. If he proves to be safe, then have someone sit and teach him to learn how to read and write." "As you command, Hokage." the umbu said with a bow, before he disappeared. The third sighed and wondered how long it would be before a member of the council decided to come in and demand to know about the boy. From what he had read and what his gut told him, he thought that this boy had great potential if he was merely given the chance to use it. After all of the ninja they had lost over the years, particularly in the last war, and in the battle against the Kyuubi, they needed every ninja that they could to replace those that were lost. He knew that there was a chance that members of the council would try and take control of the boy later on with his potential, particularly with his most unique bloodline. The Abrum clan would likely be amongst the first to try and claim the boy unless they decided that as a spider type he was some sort of natural enemy to their bugs. There were others, including Danzo, that would try and take the boy. He had to be ready for them though. The addition of having a secret or unknown language would appease both Ibiku and Danzo though. FYI, this story is originally only going to do the mission to Wave Arc before stopping for a while, and depending on how popular or successful it is will determine whether or not I continue beyond that. And I've only ever watched up to the vote battle. Peter was dropped off by one of the umbu who helped set him up in the small apartment. These shall be your quarters until you can afford something more decent, the umbu explained to the boy. What, you don't have group homes or anything? Peter questioned the masked ninja curiously. Group homes. Homes where groups of orphans live and are supervised by some adults. Maybe you just call them orphanages, Peter suggested. No, we do not have anything like that. The Hokage arranges for apartment buildings like these to be used for the children who are without a home, if they have nowhere else to live. The ones that are accepted into the academy, descended from ninja, or are from ninja clans are watched over by various ninja. Non-ninja children are usually watched over by the civilian council. Because of your potential, the Hokage has decided to put you under the jurisdiction of the ninja and clans for now. You shall be given an allowance to use in keeping yourself alive and taught how best to use that money, the umbu explained to the boy. Sleep now though. You have a long day ahead of you where you must be caught up on your studies. The boy nodded as he headed for the room, his mind rushing with the little bits of information that he could remember. While the boy slept, meetings happened throughout the city of the strange boy with the odd bloodline abilities, and plans were put forth and discarded as fast as they could come. When morning came and he finally stepped out of the doors of his apartment, there were several eyes watching and waiting to see what the boy would do next. While none would admit to knowing of him, there were many waiting to decide on their next move. Hey, who are you? A loud voice questioned, breaking the silence. Several figures cringed or glared at the newly arrived figure. Peter turned to look to see a boy around his own age. The boy was blond, had blue eyes, and several scars that resembled whiskers on either side of his face. I think I'm your new neighbor. Name's Peter, the boy responded, offering his hand out to the demon container. And you are? I'm Naruto Uzumaki, the boy proclaimed proudly as they shook hands. Now if you're my new neighbor, then I should take you on a tour of the village. Someone has to show you all of the cool places to go to. Peter nodded in agreement as Naruto had them wandering the hidden leaf village, with the blonde pointing out things of interest like where the park was, the academy, the market, and finally Ichiraka's ramen stand where they had lunch. As they were leaving the stand, Peter noticed that the mountain that made up one side of the defenses of the ninja village, that there was several faces carved into the rock. Who are the Rushmore copycats? He questioned, pointing to the stone faces that were looking down on the village. Naruto followed the finger and saw what he was pointing to. Those are the faces of the 4 Hokages. One day they're gonna carve my head up there. Believe it. And what exactly is the Hokage? Peter questioned, having quickly gotten used to his newfound friend shouting his catchphrase out for everyone to hear. Every time he said that, he had a flash of another blonde in a blue outfit catching on fire. He didn't know what it meant, but supposed that he should mention it to some adults later just in case it helped them figure out who he was or where he came from. The Hokage is the leader and most respected ninja in the whole village, Naruto explained to his companion. The old man is also always willing to listen to me as well. Right, he's the go-to guy and leader that everyone listens to, Peter said. So, now that we've done all that, what do you think that we should do? Naruto grinned at the other boy. Well, how do you feel about pranks? He questioned the other boy slyly. Peter smirked at him as he tossed an arm over the shoulder of the orange-wearing kid. "Naruto, my boy. I think that this is the start of a beautiful friendship. Now tell me more." The observing ninja sweat dropped as they heard this. Naruto alone could cause insane pranks. If he had help though, there was no telling what the pair might accomplish. Naruto smiled happily as he found someone to help him in keeping the Konoha ninja on their toes. For the last 6 months, the terrible twosome known as Naruto and Peter had wreaked havoc throughout the village hidden in the leaves. The teachers at the academy had found the friendship between the two orphan boys to be a mixed blessing. On the one hand, there was the fact that with Peter at his side to help calm him, Naruto was able to pay better attention in classes and had moved his way from the bottom of the class to being even with Kiba and Choji. The problem with the friendship, though, was that while Naruto was impulsive, Peter was calculating and quickly learned from his mistakes, making the various pranks that the duo pulled off more and more impressive. It was scary to the village people who had no idea just what it was that the pair would dream up next. There had been attempts to destroy the friendship, but both boys had steadfastly refused to ignore each other, and their friendship had not only remained but had grown stronger over time. Where one went, the other was usually close by, ready to help the other if the need should arise. Peter actually seemed to be just as used to being reviled as Naruto was for some odd reason. When the Hokage had heard that bit of news, he had sent people to the Land of Water to search for spider bloodline users, as they were one of the people most likely to try and do away with a bloodline user in new and interesting ways. The pair of boys were currently scrounging around for supplies in the town alleyways. Coming to this place always had a small amount of risk, as there was always some group or other that might take the chance to attack Naruto whenever he was seemingly alone. They had come here during a celebration, hoping to slip in and out before the usual people noticed them and tried something. While neither boy knew why Naruto was reviled and given names like Demon Brat, they did know that many of their trips had to be done carefully. They had put together a small bag of discarded items that they thought that they could use and were actually on their way home when their luck ran out. A group of drinkers were passing by when they saw the pair. "Look, it's the Demon Brat and its foreign cohort," one of the men slurred. The two boys froze as they saw several eyes were now turned toward them. Unfortunately, none of the eyes had any kindness as they stared at them. "Time to go, partner," Peter said, tugging on his friend's shirt, and the two shot off away from the crowd, hoping to reach the main street where there was a chance for them to be seen by someone that would have sympathy for them. The route was cut off, though, as the villagers got in their way. The boys cursed their luck. At the age of 8, they were not allowed to carry ninja weapons around despite having some training in the use of various ninja tool basics. The only gear they had were a few odds and ends that they had managed to collect. "Looks like our luck is going about usual, buddy," Peter said wryly, as he eyed the people that were gathering around them in a hostile ring. Most of the people were villagers, but there were also a few ninja in the mob as well. "Yeah, looks like it," Naruto said grimly with narrowed eyes as he got into a defensive position with Peter at his back. The pair waited to see what would happen next, and after a moment of hesitation, several half-emptied bottles came flying at them. Naruto used their pack of items to block things while Peter snagged 2 bottles out of the air and used them to bat other bottles away from them. As he held the bottles at the ready, 2 speedy black missiles rushed through the air and shattered the bottles. Peter dropped the necks of the bottles. He turned and saw 2 Chunin grinning at the pair, each readying their throwing blades for another attack. "Naruto, we need to attack or else they're gonna turn us into pincushions," Peter informed his friend. "Right," Naruto said and lunged, trying to slip through the crowd. Peter cartwheeled to the left, trying to break away, only shoving his tormentors out of the way. The 2 boys were grabbed and thrown back into the circle. Some of the villagers had found some plywood and moved in. "Looks like it's time to get serious," Peter said as he caught 2 of the boards and shoved them away before he began swinging and punching at their attackers. Behind him, he could hear Naruto doing something similar as he tried to fight his way past the incensed crowd of drunks. Despite both boys being stronger than your average person, there was simply too many of the crowd, and they were both soon down on the ground. Naruto was pinned and Peter was on his hands and knees. The boy winced as several strong kicks caught him in the ribs. He looked up to see one of the Chunin's metal-plated backhand coming toward him. Peter sighed. He was tired of holding back just because these were supposedly regular people. He reached out and caught the incoming fist. The Chunin looked in surprise as Peter used his hold to swing him around and slam him into a wall. "All right then, no more Mr. Nice Guy," Peter said as he climbed to his feet. As two more kunai came flying at him from behind, he leaned forward and the crowd gasped as they passed over him. He then flipped into the air at levels that were impossible without chakra and sprayed a gray and white substance at the crowd. The odd things created a giant spiderweb on one end of the alley and blocked the villagers out of the fight and left only the Chunin for them to fight. He landed in a splayed-out position on the wall of the building and raising his hand in an odd way with his two center fingers closed inward and his wrist held at an odd angle. More of the odd substance came out, slamming the ropes into the other Chunin. The shocked Chunin moved out of the way and began to seriously throw their blades as the threat that the boy was drained some of the alcohol out of their system. Peter began a series of backflips up the wall and got away from the blades. Not about to stop, they released more blades, and as Peter moved, ninja wire helped them shift the position of their weapons. Peter barely managed to get out of the way of one that had shifted to take him in the chest and instead got two in the leg, forcing him to the ground where he landed on top of Naruto. "Well, that could have gone better," Peter gasped out. He was not used to using his abilities in combat situations, and most of what he had done had been instinctive as opposed to any real idea as to what he was doing. With the blades in him, there wasn't much else he could except maybe buy Naruto some time. He let his body take over again and watched as his body used his odd web-like ability to create a protective round shield around his arm. Peter looked down at Naruto and winced as he saw several knife wounds in his unconscious friend. The boy felt the world darken as he held his shield up at the ready. The last thing he saw, though, was a pair of umbu, one with a dog mask, the other with a bear mask, dropping down on the Chunin and almost casually taking them out. Peter was tired and couldn't do anything else though, so decided that now was a good time to take a nap. The two umbu turned as they heard the boy finally fall. "Enjoy your rest, young one, you've earned it," Bear told the young ninja as the pair gathered the two boys and their bag of scrounged supplies. They then flickered away to the roof, where they then began making their way towards the hospital. The Hokage knew all that had happened in regard to the two boys, as their umbu watchers were often hard-pressed to keep their eyes on the pair at times. For 6 months the Hokage had watched and waited for any signs of the Parker boy being something other than what he had claimed to be. Nothing had happened to make anyone believe that he knew anything of value towards another one of the hidden villages though. Even Danzo had reluctantly admitted that it was unlikely for any other villages to send out agents so young. In Danzo's own words, children at that age were unpredictable in the way that they acted at that age and sometimes did unexpected things. Now there was the matter of the attack upon the boys to deal with. There had been attacks before, but this was possibly the worst one yet. Both boys had been placed in the hospital, and now everyone knew of the bloodline ability that the boy had. He had hoped to keep it secret a while longer, but now he would have to deal with it in other ways. An emergency clan council meeting had been called to discuss this recent development. Donning his robe and kage hat, he swept into the room with the various ninja council members seated around several tables. Each table held a banner with the clan symbol proudly displayed. "Greetings, my friends. And what has caused this emergency meeting?" the Hokage questioned as he sat down, though he had his suspicions. With the rather public display, those that had known did not have to pretend anymore and could use this instance to strengthen themselves. During a minor disturbance in the alley, a new bloodline was found amongst the Konoha orphans. Hokage Fugaku Uchiha, the head of the Uchiha clan and leader of the Konoha military police, noted to the village leader. "The foreigner child Peter Parker has shown great potential in his recent battle against a pair of Chunin no less. While he may have lost, he managed to hold them off and protect his companion long enough until your umbu saved them. By the bylaws set down by the village founders many years ago, we have a duty to protect the boy and raise him to strengthen our people," the dark-haired man said coolly. The third nodded his head in agreement with the clan head, while inwardly he was less than pleased that the man in charge of internal security was referring to the attack upon two children as a minor incident. The two of them would be having words on the matter later. "Indeed, you are correct, Fugaku. His bloodline is part of the reason that I kept him a secret. I thought that if he were unknown, then none could let slip the information. His close association with Naruto has allowed the guards to watch over the both of them with none the wiser," the man said stonily, doing his best not to think of the two boys that were lying in hospital beds. He found it most vexing that the Chunin had mysteriously disappeared before he could have them placed under the care of Ibiki. "You should have at least told the council of the boy," another one of the heads said indignantly. "We would have been prepared for something like this happening. There was simply too much we didn't know about the boy, and I was not going to risk any of you or your clan members' lives if he proved to be a threat. It is my duty to protect the people of the village." The Hokage returned to the clan leader coolly as he skillfully countered their irritation and appeased their self-importance. There was also the mystery on how he came to us. Even Danzo, with all of his knowledge on slipping in and out, was unable to understand exactly how the boy was dropped into my office via a portal. "A portal?" Fugaku questioned with interest as he was finally getting a first-hand account of how the boy had come to be amongst them. "What kind of portal are we talking about, Lord Hokage?" The Hokage narrowed his eyes at the curiosity, but spoke anyways. "The boy came through a round disc-like object that had several colors to it. It sounds similar to the kamui," the man said with interest. "But there are none within the clan with a known mangyeko sharingan. Regardless of how the boy came to be here, he is now here, and the secret of his potential has now been advertised to the whole village, though. The third told his people before they began speculating on things that they had no control of. We must do something for him." The old man listened to the several offers of adoption for the boy. First there was the Aburame clan. As the boy belonged to an insect-type clan or bloodline, they did have the right as they were the best trainers. Next to that were offers from the Yamanaka clan. He understood their reasoning. They were hoping to merge the boy's bloodline with their own clan, creating members of their clan that could be both close-range and mid-range fighters in a few generations. The mental jutsus that the Yamanaka clan passed down from elder to child, along with the spider power the child had, could prove most useful and raise their standing in the council. The clan also had a daughter the same age as Peter, as he recalled, giving them an added bonus in trying to mix the boy's bloodline into their clan. The Nara clan had also offered their service in keeping the boy as well. His reputation as an innovative thinker appealed to the clan of strategists. The Uchiha clan wanted him to add to the already great reputation that their clan already enjoyed. With the reports of his particular animalistic style of fighting, the Inuzuka clan had also shown an interest in the boy. Of the major Konoha ninja clans, the only ones that were not asking for guardianship were the Akimichi and Hyuga clans. It was times like these that he really missed the fourth Hokage. Now he had to choose which family would best serve the boy and the village, though. As each ninja clan made their bid for the boy, they handed in the required paperwork. The fact that each of them already had the paperwork just spoke to the fact that they had all had some inkling to his potential. He would have to tighten security on certain secrets, it seemed. The Hokage turned to look towards the clan heads that were gathered around to hear what fate he had finally decided for the boy. "This boy brings much to our village, including a new bloodline and a willingness to serve. He has also found a way to somewhat control Naruto, an impressive task for anyone. There is much to consider in the coming way, though. The council has agreed that the boy is to be given the chance to become a shinobi. In fact, they think that it would be useful if he were to become one. Therefore, he shall be given the chance like any other shinobi would. I have here all of your applications and recommendations by some of the people that know each of you and your families and clans. Each of you have much to teach and offer to the boy, but for the good of the village I must choose someone who can help the boy the most. Therefore, I give permission to Shibi, leader of the Aburame clan, to take over guardianship of the Parker boy." "What?" an angered Fugaku shouted out. "But my clan has ninja that can teach him to be the best. I can place him under the tutelage of Itachi, and he can train alongside of Sasuke as they are of the same age." He tried to rationalize to the other members. When no one rose to aid him in his defense, he reluctantly returned to his seat. "No one is doubting in your clan's ability to create exceptional ninja, Fugaku." The Hokage returned to the man. "Some of our most well-known ninja have come from your clan. However, there is more to ninja than just being skilled. Your bloodline makes your people somewhat impatient teaching others. Besides, there is no other clan that has as much knowledge of insects or arachnids as the Aburame clan does. We must let each clan work to its strengths." "As you command, Hokage," Fugaku said in resentful agreement. A man dressed in the Aburame clan jacket and wearing the clan sunglasses rose from his seat and nodded his head in acceptance of the honor he and his clan were being given. If it pleases the Hokage, I would be honored to take responsibility for the boy of the spider bloodline. Very well, as Peter is at the age of reason, we must of course see what he thinks of this change in his life. The Hokage reminded the man. I do not see any problems with that, though, as few have reached out to him. The Aburame Council shall meet you at the apartments once the boy is healed, Shibi said with a bow before he disappeared in a swirling cloud of bugs. That is all for the rest of you, the Hokage said, unless you wish to see if there is some last-minute development that you might be able to use to get yourself into a slightly better position to try and claim the boy for your clans. Several of the ninja nodded as they disappeared in swirls of leaves, leaving the room empty except for the Hokage, Danzo, and a few others who decided to walk out the doors. Peter and Naruto were currently walking home, having finally finished healing from their various wounds. It had taken Peter 3 days to heal and to stop having the various medic ninja stop testing his enhanced healing. While he didn't heal as fast as Naruto, he did heal faster than most other ninja did. Injuries that would have only taken Naruto a few hours to heal had taken Peter a full day to heal. The best part about the hospital had been the constant meals that they had been allowed to eat. The weary boys stopped though as they saw that in front of their apartment building were several figures both familiar and unfamiliar. Leading the group was the Hokage, and at his side were several of the ninja clan leaders. The boys recognized the head of the ninja police was amongst the crowd as well. Peter, it seemed, had trust issues when it came to police and was always on edge around them. His distrust had also led to more than one run-in with them. Old man, Naruto greeted with an ear-splitting grin. What brings you out here? Peter nodded his head in agreement as he eyed the other members curiously. Hello Naruto, it's good to see you. But it is Peter that brings us here today, actually, the Hokage explained to the blonde boy. The two boys looked at the third, curiously wondering what it was that he could mean. Had they finally found some clue to where he came from before? Before we start though, allow me to introduce Shibi Aburame, clan leader of the Aburame clan, along with his clan elders of course. I believe you have already met Fugaku Uchiha, the captain of the ninja police, and finally there is Shikaka Nara, head of the Nara clan. A scarred man with his hair put up in a messy ponytail nodded to the pair. What is it that you want from me? Peter questioned, looking at the group, warily ready to disappear if he needed to. All these people wouldn't be here just to make sure that they got back from the hospital all right. The Hokage smiled as he turned his attention to the foreign orphan boy. Because of the bloodline that you possess, Peter, and the fact that you were seen using it as you did in your fight, it has been decided by the council that you should be claimed by one of the clans to better prepare you to deal with your gifts in greater service to the village. The Aburame clan, being insect users, were thought to be the best people to help you to learn and discover what your abilities might be. Peter said as he looked the clan over cautiously. He wasn't about to agree to anything though. And what would being a member of the Aburame clan mean? While you would never be able to become leader of the Aburame clan without making a pact with the clan bugs, you could become a member and be cared for by the clan. You wouldn't have to fight day to day to ensure your survival as you do now. Shibi explained to the boy. We Aburame are like the hive, and look after one another. And what of Naruto? Do you really think that I could just leave my friend all alone? Peter questioned the group curiously while nodding towards the boy. Peter, don't worry about me, I'll be fine. Naruto told his friend as he crossed his hands behind his head and gave a weak chuckle toward one of his only friends in the entire village. Yes. Once you're a part of a clan, you won't have to worry about random attacks like the one from earlier, one of the elders assured the boy. We are the Aburames, and like a hive of insects we protect each other from attack. While our compound is not as great as that of some of the other clans, it serves our people well. From there we watch over all of our people and protect them. It will also help if you do not socialize as much with him though. The elder ended with a growl while nodding toward the blonde boy in orange. Several of the Aburame elders nodded in agreement while sending brief glares towards the boy. Peter shook his head at the clan elders in defiance upon hearing that condition of joining with the Aburame clan. I won't leave Naruto out here on his own. The two of us are friends and whatnot. We've watched each other's backs more times than either of us can remember. While having the protection of your clan would be nice, I won't simply abandon Naruto because it would be convenient for you and whatever prejudices that you have against him. We're a team." The Hokage nodded his head in pride at the choice that the boy was making. While he may not have been born in Konoha, his loyalty to Naruto proved that he had the will of fire flowing fiercely through his veins. Several of the Aburame elders looked displeased at the defiance of the young one. They were interested in his bloodline, however, and were willing to allow him to defy him at the moment, even if it was with the fox brat. The boys watched nervously as Shibi, the elders, the third, and the Nara clan head gathered together to discuss what the boy said, while Uchiha stonily watched them. The group finally seemed to come to an agreement as they turned and faced the pair of boys. "Very well, Peter. You shall not be forced to leave the apartments where you live or Naruto, whom you have claimed friendship with," Shibi told the boys, who let out relieved sighs as they knew that the Aburame clan could demand that Peter obey them. "Rather than adopting you, the Aburame clan shall claim you as a protectorate of our clan. While you share no blood, you will be allowed to bear the clan name and be given an allowance to live on. An Aburame will also likely move into a nearby apartment and be on hand if you get into trouble." "Thank you," Peter said, bowing to the Aburame clan elders. "You will report for training by us to help with your bloodline at the compound, though. Your friend will have to learn on his own. We will help in providing scrolls and other supplies for your ninja training as well." Shibi finished. Peter nodded his acceptance, realizing that the clan elders were being lenient and to accept what he could. "I thank you for your understanding," the boy said again. "I hope to prove worthy of the clan that has claimed me." Peter and Naruto chuckled as they finished up their work on the Hokage monument. The pair grabbed the paint and headed away before anyone noticed it had taken them nearly an hour to tog all of the various paint buckets and brushes to create several large splashes of paint. Only a handful of places actually had to be worked on. The swirls around the eyes or the mustache on the second required a certain touch. "Parker! Uzumaki!" a voice shouted from behind them. The pair of boys turned to see several ninja glowering at them from a building. "And that would be our cue to leave," Peter told his friend, getting an agreeing nod from Naruto. The two boys laughed as they split up, each of them taking a few cans of paint as they disappeared into the city. Peter smirked as he dodged back and forth, doing his best to keep away from the following Jonin. As they passed several open windows, Peter shot out some of his weblins and jerked hard. He chuckled as he heard several muffled curses as a couple of crates filled with trash were jerked over thanks to his webbing and spilled all over his cruisers. While the ninja were stuck wiping the garbage off of them, Peter made himself seemingly disappear into the shadows. He then set up several water balloons filled with paint. If these guys were as good as they wanted people to believe, then they had better be ready. Tying the water balloons, he made a few adjustments to them and added strings. "Where is he?" one of the ninja questioned in annoyance. "I'm gonna gut that little spider brat for doing that. It's what happens when you chase him. You should be used to it by now," one of the other Nina returned. "The QB only tries to get away. The Aburame Parker kid likes to set traps and fight as he go along." The ninjas then saw the figure leaping from rooftop to rooftop a few blocks ahead. "Looks like he's starting to slow down," one of the ninjas said as they rushed forward to finally capture the kid. As they passed a clothesline, none of them noticed Peter pull a cord. They were almost within range when several water balloons that had been held in place by the cord began to be anything OMB down on them. "Scatter!" the lead ninja ordered. As the balloons blew apart on touching them, revealing just where the rest of the paint had gone as they were splashed with various colors. Peter smirked as he forced the ninja to flee from his instant bombs. He supposed he should check on Naruto now before something happened to his friend and fellow troublemaker. He turned around and gulped as he saw Irika standing behind him with his hands on his hips and a dark scowl on his face. The man was young, only in his early 20s at the most. He wore a standard Leaf Village uniform and a Chunin flak vest. The most distinguishing feature that he had was the giant scar across his face. At the Chunin's feet was a tightly bound and gagged Naruto. "Hey sensei," Peter greeted nervously while eyeing his teacher. "I'm going to take a shot in the dark and say that you noticed that we weren't in class today," he said with a weak grin. "The whole village noticed that the two of you weren't in class today. Just what the hell were the pair of you thinking?" the man shouted down at his wayward students. his head seeming to expand as he used a teaching jutsu to get his point across to the boys. After he was done yelling, his head returned to normal size. "Now come on. The two of you have disrupted the schedule enough for today," the man said grudgingly, as he dragged the pair back of troublemakers back to the academy before they caused some other form of mayhem on the unsuspecting village and its people. Peter Parker Broom sighed as he slipped into the room under the watchful eye of Irika. The boy was often thought to be a clone of a younger Kakashi, as he wore a red face mask just like the one that the copycat ninja wore except for it being red, and there was no opening at the top for his hair to fall out of. The boy wore a standard shinobi uniform in red. Over it he wore a sleeveless blue hoodie with the spider emblem on the front and back with fingerless gloves. On his feet he wore shinobi boots with thin soles. The boy had quickly risen to be a pride to the Abroom clan, as they found more and more spider-like abilities that his bloodline allowed him to use. To date he had strength comparable to someone called Might Guy. He was also as agile and quick as an experienced ninja. He could sense an attack whenever it came at him, could stick to surfaces whenever he needed to, and had an odd web-like substance that he could fire from his wrists. All of these abilities were without having to use chakra. Despite the best efforts of the clan, there were others that knew of him. The Kamizuru clan was always trying to send someone out to steal the boy and make Peter loyal to them. The clan of B-users had yet to successfully infiltrate the city and capture the boy though. There was also a few that merely wanted to get a hold of him for his blood to see if they could better understand what he was. It had allowed the Hokage to pull a couple of Aburame ninja from other duties and assign them the duty of keeping Peter safe from any more attacks, increasing the original single guardian to 3. The clan had actually scraped the money together and bought part of the apartment complex, taking over 3 levels for the clan. Peter and Naruto resided in the middle level, while guards or clan members that wanted a place to live away from the Abroom compound could make their home here without having to completely leave the influence of the clan. The masked boy looked over at Naruto, his best friend. Despite the best efforts of many different members of the Abroom clan, they had yet to convince him to leave his friend behind as many wished he would. The pair of boys were still neighbors in the same apartment building as when Peter had been claimed by the Abroom clan. The pair were an interesting pair as they made their way through the village at times. Naruto was brash and impulsive while Peter was intelligent and mouthy. Naruto would have been placed at the bottom of the class for the Ninja Academy if it hadn't been for the help that Peter gave him in sharing scrolls so that Naruto could keep up with the required reading and had someone to practice their ninja skills with. Naruto was classed as one of the better ones when it came to ninja tools and scrolls, and Peter was one of the better students all around. The only one better than Peter was Uchiha Sasuke. The heir and last surviving member to the Uchiha clan was regarded as a minor prodigy. Nowhere near the level of his elder brother, but still more than adequate to continue the line of ninja that had come before him. Naruto and Peter were facing a large amount of detention, which included cleaning up the results from some pranks that had involved them. The detentions included cleaning the Hokage monument to Irika's approval, and then cleaning the tie-dyed hospital sheets that had been made into giant flag the other day. The boys would be forced to unsew their flag and make any and all repairs to the sheets that were needed and clean each and every sheet to the head nurse's approval. An old bat that just so happened had a severe dislike for both of the boys as she held with the beliefs of the village. It didn't help that their flag had been a rather unflattering representation of her. Currently they were all waiting to begin their tests to achieve the rank of Genin Ninja. The two boys had actually become a decent team and had even exposed several teachers for the favoritism by switching the names on various tests with Naruto's by using a genjutsu. Iruku and Mizuki were the only ones who never failed the boys because of this. They actually seemed to want the boys to prosper to a certain extent. The only favoritism that Mizuki showed was that he graded Naruto harder, but it was still fair as far as anyone could see. In order to move on and become full-fledged ninja, a person had to qualify with at least adequate set of ninja skills to graduate. Through the battery of tests, Naruto had gotten top marks for the stealth, ninja tools, and evasion. Kiba had ace tracking, Peter had gotten top marks for taijutsu and ninja tools, Choji had scored basic, but showed promise in taijutsu and weapons, Sakura had scored high in theory and tactics, Shikamaru had gotten the best scores in the written though, Shino had high tracking and theory scores, Ino had scored the highest overall of the Kunoichi, and Hinata had the best taijutsu of the Kunoichi. Then there was Sasuke, who had done better than all of them and had top marks in ninja tools, taijutsu, ninjutsu, theory, tracking, weapons, genjutsu, and had earned the title of Rookie of the Year. They had all managed to graduate, even Naruto. Even if his clones were somewhat flimsy, they had managed to stay together long enough for the test to finish before falling apart. Something that the Bai had been extremely relieved about, and had actually hugged Irika in thanks as he grasped his forehead protector. The graduation dinner that Peter knew that he and Shino would be attending would be interesting. He had used his webs to help several members of the clan to trap some rather unique bugs to give the clan head air. He hoped that they would be appreciated by his usually aloof clansman and future leader. He stopped in front of Naruto, and Peter gave his friend a new fully stocked ninja toolkit with a new pouch that was tooled just for Naruto. Naruto smiled before he produced a lock-picking set. Peter's eyes widened as he saw the expensive gift. He was actually pretty surprised to see the set, as he had often stopped to examine it. He didn't know why, but he had an interest in the art of lock-picking. This particular set had the emblem of a cat impressed into the leather pouch. The two bowed and thanked each other for their gifts. Peter was then called away from his friend, though, as the Abrum clan gathered to head to the compound to celebrate. Peter would be spending the night at the compound tonight, as the feast was expected to last far into the night. As he left, he saw that Naruto was talking to the sensei Mizuki about something. Whatever it was, it seemed to excite the boy a lot, and Peter had a moment of dread. But he quickly put it out of his mind and focused on where he was going. One never knew what the Abrum clan might do sometimes. Peter put the odd sight of the sensei and Naruto out of his mind, as the clan celebrated his and Shino's graduation from academy students to genin. They were now true shinobi of the Hidden Leaf Village. Shino was given several varieties of combat insects that would help him out in his career. Peter, on the other hand, was given a pair of bracers. The weapons were extremely lightweight, but were tough enough to be able to take a beating if it came to it. They had 3 sharpened blades running along the edge of each forearm. They would be great for slashing or catching an incoming weapon. They also had a small nozzle to help him control his odd web ability. His web ability was still rather unused, and it was usually either web sludge or ropes that he could create. No one knew how he had managed to create the giant spiderweb with just a flick of his wrists. The use of nozzles allowed him greater control, though, and Peter had taken to wearing armbands that allowed him to do that. This was merely taking the web shooter design to the next level. The bracers also contained hidden compartments to hold food pills and smaller tools if he should ever need them. That night, several alarms went off as the report of a stolen scroll echoed throughout the village. This scroll was important, and had several forbidden techniques in it that were unique to Konoha. That was all that the ninja of Abrum clan needed to know, as they broke apart to help in the hunt for the thief that had taken one of their Eyelage secret treasures. Peter had been issued to head for the building tops, as he had an almost natural feel for urban combat according to the clan trainers. Peter dressed and snapped his bracers around his wrists before he quickly found himself a place to observe the city. As he scanned the village for anything odd, he saw the bright orange of Naruto moving towards the training grounds. Wondering what his friend was doing goofing around during a state of alert, Peter decided to follow after his friend. He lost track of him a few times, but always managed to pick the trail back up. He finally found his friend semi-hiding while going through a giant scroll. Peter had a sinking feeling in the pit of his stomach as he realized that Naruto was the cause of the emergency. He was about to leap down and demand of his friend what was going on when another figure beat him to the punch. The scarred face, Chunin vest, and shinobi blue uniform showed Irika. As soon as he landed, he began questioning the blonde on what he was doing. Irika-sensei is right about one thing, Naruto. You're more than just the demon, Peter called out from his perch on a nearby tree. He would rather have been helping his friend, but his entire mind was screaming about danger around Naruto, and until he could get control of it, he needed to stay out of the way. By the way, that is one cool clone technique that you got going there, he added to him as he looked around the forest covered with clones. To think clones are supposed to be your worst subject as well, he added with a smirk, getting amused chuckles from the surrounding orange figures. Irika smiled proudly at his 2 students. See, Naruto, there are those that are willing to accept you for who and what you are. Never forget that you are Leaf Shinobi, and proud bearers of the will of fire. The 2 boys nodded even as various umbus suddenly flickered into view around them. Figures you guys show up after all the hard work is done, Peter dryly noted to the white-masked figures. Irika chuckled weakly while Naruto openly laughed at his friend's mocking. I mean, couldn't you guys have shown up before Irika got stabbed? Or is tracking one lowly genin truly beyond the abilities of the Umbu Black Ops? He mocked the group of elite ninja. The group of Umbu ignored the mouthy genin as they gathered the instructor and the scroll up for transport back to the village. The two boys shrugged before they followed after the men, not about to let their sensei out of sight just yet. After they were sure that their sensei was safe, they groaned as they saw the familiar dark clothes of an interrogator squad moving toward them. The next day Peter was shocked into silence as he saw Irika walk into the room and set himself at the main desk. The Chunin nodded to various members of his class before he pulled out a paper with his notes on the new teams. He quickly began naming the numbers and members of the new teams. Peter had to admit that despite everything, their teacher was a tough one. The man had a giant blade thrust into his back late last night, and here he was casually walking through the school as if nothing at all had happened. The Umbu had been forced to carry the teacher to the hospital last night, and the doctors had said that it had just barely missed striking a lung. The fact was his lung had been pierced, and another 3 centimeters ND the lung would have been ripped through. He knew the Konoha medics were good, but they weren't that good. Only Lady Tsunade, the legendary medical ninja, was supposed to be that good, and last he checked she was nowhere near the village. He wondered how much pain the man was really in to be walking around to reassure his students on their assignment day. Peter ignored what was being said for the most part, until he heard his own name being called out and refocused on what was being said. Team 7 will be a Broom Parker Peter, Haruno Sakura, and Uzumaki Naruto. Peter chuckled as his friend cheered, even as Sakura seemed to droop even further into her seat, learning that she wouldn't be with Sasuke and teamed with the class clown and the wise ass. The Chunin then turned to look towards the stoic Sasuke, who had not yet been assigned a team. Sasuke, as there are too many graduates this year, we've decided that since you're the rookie of the year, to have you join an existing team that has lost one of its members for some reason or other. As the most advanced of the other genin, it's believed that you'll be the most likely to catch up to the level that another pre-existing team is already at. Irika explained to the dark-haired boy, who merely nodded before flashing Naruto with an arrogant smirk that had the blonde clenching his fists in anger and rise to pound the smirk off the arrogant air. Peter sighed as he watched his friend rise to the bait of the other boy. "Hold it, Naruto," he informed his friend as he grabbed HM by the shoulder. "You can deal with him some other time, we got other things to worry about than the emo king." Naruto looked like he wanted nothing more than to try and pound the other boy, but nodded as he finally let his hands drop. "Fine," the boy grumbled, "but I don't like it," he shot back at his only friend. "There is no way that he's anywhere near as good as he likes to make everyone think that he is, though." "Agreed," Peter said, nodding. "He doesn't have to worry about anything else other than training, though it kind of makes it unfair. I mean, look around you, who else spends as much time simply training as he does, or has access to the scrolls he does? Ino has her family flower shop, Kiba has the family kennel, Shikamaru has to take care of the clan animals, Shino and I have clan duties, Sakura has parents who have her doing odd jobs, and we have to scrounge for food and equipment all the time. So of course he's going to be better than us because of that. Hinata is the only other one of us that has the same amount of time to devote to her training. There's also the fact that the Uchiha clan is one of the oldest 2 in the village and has the most scrolls. Don't let the brat get to you. If we all had that amount of time and resources to put into our training, we'd be the rookie year instead of having a rookie of the year." Naruto scowled, but nodded his head in acceptance of what his friend was telling him. Sasuke, on the other hand, gave a murderous look toward the pair as they talked down about him, acting as if they could become as powerful as him if they had access to the time, training, and scrolls that he did. Once a dobe, always a dobe as far as he was concerned. Peter smirked at the various girls that were giving him murderous looks as if daring them to say or do something about what he had just said. The girls might have if he wasn't rated as the number 2 ninja in their year, and would have likely been able to beat them if they did try and start a fight. Sakura and Ino looked like they were about ready to forget that small detail and try their luck in defending the honor of their Sasuke-kun when they were all dismissed for lunch. Everyone broke apart, each group gathering into the teams that they were likely to be a part of for years to come. Some teams became so close that even as reserve ninja they were still close. Peter had to grab a still angry Sakura before she tried to slip away from them and find Sasuke. The girl gave him a dirty look, but complied and was sitting with them. "Well, now that we're all together, let's try and get along," Peter said while looking at his mismatched team of his fellow ninja. Sakura was intelligent, easily one of the top students of their year when it came to theory. She had scored behind Ino mainly due to her lack of physical abilities. Naruto was one of the best when it came to traps and stealth. You didn't disappear on command wearing bright orange without a lot of skill. Sakura was also pretty decent at stealth thanks to her hair color. The pair were both loud-mouthed, impulsive, and opinionated most of the time though as well. Then there was himself, the number 2 ninja of their year, being proficient in most methods of the ninja. His own weakness was that he liked to make jokes while in fights, and he sometimes started thinking about other things instead of the battle before him. He vaguely recalled a sparring session he had with naruXsaku. The two of them had kept on having to be reminded by the senseis what they were doing so that they could return to the fight, as they kept getting distracted by what they were talking about. Peter shook his head as he focused back on his team. He saw Naruto was trying to befriend Sakura. Flirt was actually a better term, but Sakura's attention was turned upwards towards where Sasuke could be seen inside one of the classrooms. He shook his head in disbelief as he watched their little lunch meeting break apart, as the other two had other things to do. "Well, that could have gone better," he muttered to himself. Everyone regrouped after lunch in the classroom and waited as their senseis came to get them. Sasuke was first to leave with a figure in a dark cloak with 2 boys in dark clothes of their own. Peter personally thought that they could go as Team Goth or Emo by just looking at them. It seemed that it was just the right team for Sasuke. Shikamaru, Choji, and Ino left with a broad-shouldered bearded man. A red-eyed woman gathered Shino, Kiba, and Hinata, which left just their team to wait and figure out whether or not their sensei was ever going to show up. It was nearly 3 hours later when a masked silver-haired man with his forehead protector covering one eye appeared in the room. The man was assaulted by a couple of harmless pranks as Peter and Naruto had booby-trapped the door. Peter had strung a wire from an electrical socket to the door, while Naruto had set up an eraser that shockingly actually hit the man. "It was Peter and Naruto-sensei. They're the ones that did all that," Sakura said, pointing at the pair of ninja that were high-fiving each other. "I would never do something like that," the girl simpered at the man. I see. Well, my first inclination is that you're all a bunch of idiots," the man said as he looked at them distantly. "Come on, let's go up to the roof." The figure then disappeared in a cloud of smoke that was somewhat familiar to the boys. The team nodded and all took off to get to the roof. Peter and Naruto went through the window while Sakura took the door and stairs. Peter came up on the far wall while Naruto came up on the closer wall and saw their bored-looking sensei checking his watch. The other members of the team were all waiting for Sakura as she came huffing through the door. "Interesting, you guys came at me from all sides," the man noted before hiding the watch. "If you had managed to time it so that you all appeared at the same time, you might even have impressed me," he added to them as he gestured for them to all take a seat. "Now then, I want to know a bit more about you before anything else." "Like what?" Peter quizzed. "Well, your name's, what you like, hate, your dreams and hobbies. Something like that," the man said as he carefully eyed each of his students over. "Well, why don't you show us how it's done, sensei?" Sakura said in a bright and hopeful voice. "Suck up," Peter coughed out at the girl. The girl glared at her teammate angrily and swung her fist. Peter moved to the side and watched as the blow missed, dodging the second blow. He leaped into the air and corkscrewed away from her, landing on the edge of the building on the tips of his toes. Peter looked at her with mocking eyes as if daring her to follow up her attacks. The Jonin watched the interaction and moves blandly before speaking. "Very well, I suppose that I can do that," the man agreed as the other members of the team sat back down while Peter remained crouched on the building ledge. "I am Hatake Kakashi. I have no intention of telling you my likes and dislikes. As for my dream, I hadn't really thought about it. My hobbies, I have lots of hobbies. Now then, how about you on the right?" "Wow, that's one hell of an evasive answer," Peter said, looking at the man in appreciation while giving mock applause. "Thank you," Kakashi said in his dry tone. "I believe it's your turn," he added, turning his attention to the simmering Sakura. Sakura stammered out her likes and dislikes. The fact that they all seemed to center on Sasuke was somewhat disturbing, but they would leave it for the moment. Naruto told the others his dreams of Hokage and respect, and then it was Peter's turn. "Alright, Mini-Me, tell us about yourself," the elder ninja ordered. "I am a broomparker, Peter. My likes are jokes and experimenting. My dislikes are those abusing their power. My dream is to learn who I am and where I come from," Peter told the man, meeting his eyes. "Any reason you dress like me?" The man questioned with his usual lackluster style. "If I was copying you, it would be black or blue," Peter returned with an eye smirk. "Not the red that I'm wearing." "True enough, I suppose," Kakashi admitted to the genin. "You are each unique, different in your ideas. We'll have our first mission tomorrow." "What kind of mission are we going to have?" Naruto questioned eagerly. "It's a task that the four of us will do together," Kakashi explained. "What type of mission?" Peter asked with interest. "A survival exercise," the genin returned. The three genin looked somewhat mutinous at the idea of what seemed to be just more training, and Sakura even started complaining to the man. "We've done all that already at the academy, though," the pink-haired girl whined at the Cyclops. "This is no ordinary training," Kakashi calmly returned to her. "Then what kind is it?" Naruto asked. Kakashi chuckled at the trio. "Mind letting us in on the joke?" Peter asked the man before them. "You'll be surprised if I tell you," the man returned to them. "You see, out of all of the graduates that you had in your year, only 3 teams worth are actually going to become genin. I understand Sasuke was given a pass on the last part because of his skill and the uneven numbers of graduates. The other 18 students that don't pass this will be sent back to the academy. The training is extremely hard with a 66% dropout rate." The 3 teens share nervous glances as they realize the dangers approaching them. Peter and Sakura easily did the math in their head, and after a few moments even Naruto had managed it. "Hen, what was the point of the final exam for then?" Naruto demanded loudly. "Oh, that little thing? That's just picks out those who are actually qualified to take the next test," the man said with a light voice. 3 ninja enter. 2 ninja leave," Peter said quietly. "Something like that," Kakashi agreed with the masked boy. "I might just have to remember that one though. Anyway, I'm going to determine whether you pass or fail tomorrow at the training grounds. Bring your ninja equipment and meet at 5 a.m. Now then, meeting over. Oh yeah, don't eat breakfast. You're only going to throw up if you do." The 2 boys drooped slightly on hearing that, even as they planned on eating slightly more for dinner than they usually did. Kakashi then leaped off the building and disappeared amongst the rooftops before any of the graduates could say or do anything else. When they looked down, they discovered that the man had disappeared amongst the rooftops. "Looks like tomorrow is going to be interesting," Peter said before he headed off. "I don't know about the rest of you, but I think I'm going to get in some extra training before morning. Wait for me," Naruto said excitedly. "Come on, Sakura-chan," he urged the girl, while flashing her his biggest, foxiest grin. "I don't know," the girl said hesitantly. "My parents might be worried about me if I stay out too late." "True, but if you don't train, you're for sure not going to get that spot on the team though," Peter reminded her. "This is going to be something you have to earn from us. No matter how much Naruto here may like you," he added while giving the blonde a knowing look. "Besides, aren't you supposed to be a ninja now? Part of being a ninja is being the one in danger. Playtime is over, Sakura." The girl narrowed her eyes at the mocking tone, but nodded grimly and followed after her teammates to the training grounds that had been assigned to them. Once there, the group began going over everything that they could think of might be put into the survival test. As they trained together, none of them noticed Kakashi watching them practice from high above. "Yes, I stole the look of the Scarlet Spider and a Shinobi and merged them, then added the Batman's bracers." "Why?" "Well, Batman's bracers are cool, and the Scarlet Spider uniform looks more like a Naruto-style ninja." "How many spandex jokes do Lee and Guy have?" The trio of newly minted ninja met early the next day, eager to go and prove themselves against the unknown masked man. The hungry trio waited for nearly 6 hours before Kakashi appeared with a puff. "You're late," Naruto and Sakura yelled at him, while Peter merely glared at him in anger and annoyance. "I'm sorry, but I came across a black cat and had to turn back and come again," the ninja said in a light voice. Peter snorted at the man. Right, he drawled, which is why you've spent the last couple hours watching us. And before that you were wandering all over the forest as well, right? Okay, you caught me, but how did you notice me? You don't have a byakugan? Kakashi said while checking the boy over in surprise. This was not what he had been expecting when he first met the group. He knew that the boy was better off and better trained than the other two, but he had thought the boy was still just a basic graduate with just a few physical enhancements due to a bloodline from what the Hokage and his Abure Minders had told him, added in with what he had learned from his watching them sparring against each other yesterday. Something that had made him want to cancel his test and go to an actual mission since they were willing to work together. Instead, he was just going to see if they could work together under stress as well as they could when things were calm. Perhaps the boy had potential as a sensor type. He would have to watch and see if the boy had any other surprises during today's test. You feel like telling us any of your secrets today? Peter countered to the other man innocently. Fair enough. Kakashi said, a nod of respect towards the masked boy before him. So what were you doing if you were just hiding then, sensei? Naruto questioned the elder ninja. I was merely preparing the area for the test, and watching to see how you all interacted with each other. Kakashi returned to him casually. Are you ready? He questioned them, as he set down a clock and 2 lunches on a nearby stump. He then set the clock, then turned to look at the group. All right, let's get started then, the man said cheerfully. Today's mission is to get one of these bells from me, he said as he displayed a pair of bells towards the young ninja. You get a bell, you get to eat. Fail and I tie you to the post and then eat lunch in front of you. And the reason that there's only 2 bells? Sakura asked nervously. Peter said it very nicely the other day. Kakashi returned to her. 3 ninja enter, 2 ninja leave. Since there's only 2, at least one will have to be tied to the log. That person will fail since they failed to complete the mission. The person will go back to the academy. It might just be 1 or all 3. You can use your ninja tools though, because you won't be able to get the bells unless you come at me with intent kill me. But that's too dangerous, sensei, Sakura objected to the man. Yeah, you couldn't even dodge that eraser, Naruto reminded the man with a chuckle. Those with the lowest skill range usually make the most noise. Kakashi returned to them. Considering that I'm not dealing with the top of the class, I think that I should be alright though. Unless there's more to your scores than you told us. He mocked the trio. What, you think because we're not Sasuke that we don't stand a chance? Naruto growled, as his pride was injured at the suggestion of him not being good enough in comparison to the Uchiha heir. I'm going to beat you and your stupid test because I'm going to be Hokage one day. Believe it. Yes, we heard you the last time you said that, Kakashi said, unimpressed with the dramatic outburst. We'll start when I say start, the man said, pointedly ignoring the question. This proved to be too much for the annoyed and impatient Naruto, who ignored the man's commands as he lunged forward with a drawn blade. Kakashi flickered out of view and appeared behind Naruto, holding the blonde's own blade against him. The others moved back in shock and surprise at the speed the man had just shown them. Can't blame him for trying. Besides, have you ever seen a real fair fight? Peter questioned as he drew his own blade out ready to help his friend out if need be. It's what they teach us at the academy, to try and take any advantage that we can when we can. That in a fight like you want there are no rules. Sakura nodded grimly as she drew her own kunai. Fair enough, Kakashi said as he releases Naruto, tossing the blonde towards his friend who moved to catch him. Now that I know that you're in the right mood though, he looks the trio over for a moment. Ready, start. The 3 genin each leaped away, disappearing from view. Kakashi nodded as he saw that all the members of the team had disappeared into the forest. That was no small feat when you considered the bright colors that were Naruto and Sakura. He was surprised though when Naruto appeared seemingly out of nowhere to challenge the Jonin. Kakashi sighed as he retrieved his book, angering the young ninja even more as he rushed the man. Naruto tried the direct assault first, only to have Kakashi casually counter each and every one of his moves. The boy surprised Kakashi as he dodged the 1,000 years of death taijutsu move. He twirled around trying to ram his fist into the face of the Jonin. Kakashi countered this by grabbing the incoming arm and spun on his heel, swinging the boy around. He then released his hold, launching the blonde into a nearby lake. Rather than following up the attack, the Jonin sat upon the bank and continued reading his book. Naruto launched some throwing stars that the Jonin caught without even seeming to look up from his book. Naruto came out of the lake and relaunched his attack. This time he activated his shadow clones who tried to swarm the man. But they never seemed to do more than catch the man off guard for a moment or two before he managed to counter them. Where 15 clones had stood, soon Naruto was alone. Peter watched silently as Naruto challenged the older ninja into battle and was soundly countered time and time again. It was as if the guy knew what his friend was going to do before he even did it, or had some sort of ability to sense attacks before they happened, and he was doing it all with one eye and reading a book as well. For a moment his mind flashed to a figure dressed all in red holding a stick fighting off ninja. As soon as Peter focused on the image, though, the image was gone and all he had was the fleeting memory of a figure in red fighting ninjas. What or who was that? He wondered. This wasn't the first time that his mind had flashed to some unknown figure, but that had been one of the more clear, garbled vision that he had ever received before. Shaking his head, he refocused on the one-sided fight. Naruto almost seemed to catch Kakashi a few times, but each time he almost had him the ninja countered or disappeared. The longer the fight went, the more frustrated and sloppy Naruto became, opening more and more holes in his defense. At this rate, Naruto would end up defeating himself unless his friend got a chance to calm himself down. "Naruto, change it up," Peter called out. The blonde nodded his head and disappeared while Peter leaped down to take his friend's place. "You'll have to excuse Naruto, he's a bit impulsive at times," the younger masked figure said from his crouched combat position. "If you say so, mini-me," the man said blandly as he focused more on his book than on the boy. Peter eyed the older ninja with interest as he tried to figure out just what kind of move he would make and why the man had generated the image he did. The man seemed more intent on his book than in trying to do anything to him, though, giving the younger ninja the time to study him. Peter shrugged and began moving toward him. Naruto had done a good job of testing the man for the other two members of the group. This guy had speed and a nearly uncanny ability to predict what Naruto would do before he did it. Naruto had come at him from virtually all angles and had come up with nothing. The closest his friend had gotten was when he swarmed the ninja. Not exactly a tactic that he and Sakura could copy very well. To add to the insult, the man had only used taijutsu and a single replacement jutsu in comparison to Naruto's advanced jutsu that was a restricted village secret combat technique. He would need to do something to surprise the guy. Or maybe all he had to do was distract the guy. What could distract a guy like this, though? Enough that he would make a mistake, though. He had one idea, he only hoped that it would work. "So tell me, One Eye, do you know it's rude to ignore people?" Peter questioned as he moved in. "I mean, seriously, for being such an advanced ninja, they don't teach you much in the manners department now, do they?" He tried to clothesline the man, who merely bounced away as he kept up the chatter. "Oh, I suppose so. But it really is such an interesting book." Kakashi returned to the boy. "That maybe," Peter returned, not stopping for a second as he took to the air, landed on one hand and tried to kick the man in the face. "But do you really expect for people to respect you if you keep doing that? I mean, sure, maybe you're trying to give us an edge by splitting your attention and all, but still it is pretty rude. Considering some of the people I grew up with, that's saying something." Kakashi effortlessly moved out of the way as he backpedaled away from the gymnastic combat style that the boy employed. "I suppose it is, but I really want to find out what happens next," he explained to the boy that was attacking him in a fluid method that seemed to build from one attack to the next while keeping a steady stream of talking going. "Right," Peter said as he launched himself in a tackle that Kakashi just leaped over. The ninja was surprised, though, as Peter landed on his hands and launched himself upward with only taking time to push off. Spinning while moving, he managed to clip the ninja, knocking him off balance as his foot made a glancing blow with his leg. As we like to say on the playground, Kakashi-sensei, tag you're it. The boy then twisted his body and reached. Kakashi was forced to use his free hand to catch the arm that had tried to reach for the bells and tossed him back towards the ground. Peter twisted and landed in a splayed-out position, waiting for his sensei to make the next move. As the older ninja sailed through the air, he reached out and caught the branch of a nearby tree and swung onto a branch and looked down at the waiting figure. The ninja winced as he felt where the glancing blow had connected. He covertly ran his hand over the bandages that covered his legs to check the shin guard that covered his hit leg. He was somewhat surprised as he felt a new shape in the armor. Despite it only being a glancing blow, the boy had managed to dent metal plate. The boy, it seemed, had even more surprises than he had originally been led to believe. Perhaps he should take him a bit more seriously. "Very well, you want me to take a shot at you this time, I think I can arrange for that," the man said as he leaped down from the tree. He observed the boy that he was fight-ready despite having been tossed from a great distance. He tossed several smoke bombs into the ground as he prepared his next attack. When the smoke cleared, the ninja was gone. Peter tensed as he realized that he probably wouldn't be able to see from where the attack would come from. He spun on his heel, expecting to see the man coming at him from behind or above. There was nothing. Heck, there was no trace of the guy anywhere, no matter where he looked. Peter suddenly felt his spider sense begin to scream at him, and he had already leaped into the air before he knew what he was doing. "Headhunter Jutsu!" Kakashi cried as his arms reached out of the dirt, but his fingers just scraped the bottom of Peter's boot before it seemed to go back down. A moment later, Kakashi appeared next to Hole with a sigh of disappointment. "Well, that could have gone better," he complained as he looked down at the hole where a young ninja was supposed to be planted up to his head. Peter's leap had him grabbing a tree branch and pulling himself up. "Okay, that was cool," he admitted. "If we manage to pass this insane test of yours, do you think that you could consider teaching me that one?" The Aburame clan boy questioned eagerly as he eyed the hole that was about the size of a person. "I'll consider it," Kakashi agreed with the boy. "If you pass, that is." "Hey Peter, let's see what Sakura-chan can do," Naruto cried from across the way. Peter turned to look at his friend who was standing beside Sakura. Using the moment of distraction that Naruto had unwittingly created in which Peter had turned to look towards his teammates, Kakashi struck out with ninja wire. Several near-invisible strands burst out of his gloves. Peter dodged the blows and lunged at the ninja in joy. "Gotcha now, sensei," he said as his fist lashed out while the ninja was busy trying to release the wires. "And you thought that I was in your face before," he joked as his fists connected with the Jonin. Instead of connecting with a masked figure, though, they struck a log that the ninja had used for a substitution. When Peter's fist connected, it tossed the log several feet away. "Well, that's new," Kakashi said from where he was leaning against a boulder, and watching Peter not even seem to be rubbing his hand in pain. "I think you just set a record for how far a genin can punch a log. I know several others that can make it much farther, but it was still impressive for your age. I'll try to avoid getting hit by you." Peter nodded in understanding. He then did something that no one saw, and several white ropes snagged the flying log and he swung it at Kakashi. The ninja froze in surprise at the unexpected attack for a moment before he blurred out of the way, allowing the log shatter against the rock. Peter looked reluctant, but finally stepped back to allow the pinkhead a chance at the man. "Alright Sakura, maybe you can do something against this guy. If not, I have a few plans to try," he assured the girl. "Yeah, go for it, Sakura-chan," Naruto said, pumping his hand into the air. "Show this crazy guy what happens when he messes with us." Peter turned to look at his friend. "Naruto, I have an idea. Distraction for..." The boy looked confused for a moment before he grinned. "Yeah, it would serve him right for trying to stick his hand there anyways," Naruto returned before he disappeared. "Do your best," Peter told Sakura before he disappeared as well. The girl nodded as she drew several kunai in preparation for her upcoming fight. "Alright sensei, I guess it's my turn now," the girl nervously replied as she gripped her weapons tightly. "Yes, the only difference is it's just you and me," Kakashi said as he waved her onward. Peter and Naruto had the benefit of having each other's back. "You don't have anyone watching out for you though," the ninja pointed out to the girl mockingly. "What are you going to do when it becomes too much for you?" The girl swallowed nervously and then began launching her blades at the Jonin. Kakashi sighed as he drew his book back out and snagged the first of the blades out of the air. "Sakura, I told you that you have to come at me with the intent to kill." Peter and Naruto were going for severe injury, which is better than you're doing right now, Kakashi admonished, as he casually blocked the incoming blades. "I would have thought someone with your scores would have understood that." I thought that with your big head you would have been able to retain that bit of information. Maybe there's a reason that the Yamanaka girl was classed as the top Kanochi instead of you." The ninja goaded the girl. "Forehead? Ino pig?" the girl said, before her eyes changed before Kakashi's eyes. Instead of the green from moments earlier, they were now glowing white areas. This was not the pale purple of the Hyuga clan, but a glowing white that covered the entirety of both of her eyes. Snarling, the girl ran at the man and began swinging her fists at him. The girl had also tapped into a large amount of killer intent as well. Kakashi was almost impressed with what he was seeing. So young and already able to summon killing intent. Not very much, but it was still something. "I am better than Ino pig," the girl practically shouted as she continued swing at the man. "And I will beat her in the race for love," she declared, as she drove her fist into the tree behind him. "Are you sure? Look at that?" Kakashi questioned, as he looked her in the eyes and then pointed to something behind them. The girl spun around and she saw something that made her chest freeze in pain. Ino was currently kissing Sasuke. Ino broke off her kiss with the dark-haired boy and shot Sakura a smirk. "Oh, hey forehead. I guess I won after all," she said with a smirk before she shot the girl a superior smile, sticking her tongue out at her. Sakura fell to her knees in shock and defeat at what she saw before her. "No," Sakura said from her spot on the ground. "Sasuke-kun, what about us?" she questioned desperately, as she looked at the Uchiha heir hopefully. "What about all that we could be? Just tell me what I need to change, and I promise that I'll do it," she declared as she was intent on proving her love to the dark-haired boy. The boy merely sneered at her. "I already told you, you're annoying." He then turned back around to kissing Ino. The Kanochi hung her head at this comment. "No," Sakura said as she began repeatedly slamming her fist into the ground. No. Kakashi shook his head as he ignored the outburst from the girl as he looked at the tree behind him and saw the dents in the wood. Had the girl connected with one of those, he would have been in extreme pain. He wondered how much longer the timer had. The way he figured it only had a few more minutes. Peter and Naruto were working well as a team while Sakura had yet to show any real teamwork inclinations. It was a shame, since if the girl could just figure out the need for teamwork, then he could pass all of them. "Sakura-chan," Naruto said as he appeared next to the girl trying to help her. He turned to glare at the man. "What did you do to Sakura-chan?" the boy asked with narrowed eyes. "I merely showed her something that she didn't want to accept," Kakashi said, indifferent to the blonde's anger or the pinkette's outburst. "Naruto, get Sakura back with us. I'll deal with him," Peter said as he nodded toward the ninja. "Right," Naruto said as he began trying to get her to snap out of whatever troubles that she was having. "Maybe you should try a kiss," Kakashi teased the blonde boy. "Yo sensei, eyes on me," Peter said as he began swinging his arms at the Jonin. "I guess I should really say I. Besides, what would you know about romance? I'm sure any romance that comes near you comes into that big blind spot of yours." Kakashi dodged the arms and the small spikes that were connected to the limbs. "So I was thinking," Peter said as he moved forward, "that you seem to be way too comfortable with the way this fight is going that we might need to change the rules on you before we get ourselves hurt." "And how do you plan on doing that exactly?" Kakashi asked in his usual bored manner, as he deftly moved out of the way as the two arms slammed over where he had been a moment ago. By changing the terrain, Peter returned as he flipped into the trees and began running overhead of the man and throwing kunai at the ninja. "If you'd rather have a longer fall, that's fine with me," Kakashi said as he flickered away into the trees and reappeared over Peter's head. Peter grinned as he bounced back and forth between the tree in leaps and bounds till he was facing the man. "Impressive, not many genin can move that fast or are that agile," the masked figure congratulated him. Peter bit back a curse as he realized that the experienced ninja had humored his changing the terrain so that he could get a better idea as to what it was that he could do. Not bothering to worry about his annoyance with himself, he moved forward. "You seem to have some skill," Kakashi noted. "Between yourself and Naruto, you have a more than adequate personal skills. But it takes a lot more than that to be a leaf shinobi," he warned the boy before him. "We'll have to see if we can up our game then," Peter said as he made an unknown hand sign at the Jonin. Kakashi was surprised when an odd substance spat out of his wrist and struck him in the face. The odd substance only partially covered his eye. That was going to make the fight all the more difficult, it seemed. He had to admit that the change of terrain did seem to give Peter a better fighting ground, as the young man either bounced or swung from branch to branch as if he had grown up doing such things. Add in his now partial blindness thanks to the web goop, he might for the first time actually be in trouble. He grunted as he felt a foot connect with his stomach, sending him flying out of the trees and into the trunk of another. He saw Peter land on the tree and like a spider begin crawling at a rate that might be faster than tree climbing or walking. When the boy got close enough, he faked him out and slammed his bracer into the tree, driving the sharpened tips into the tree before leaping from the tree and landing back on the ground. As much as he would like to continue testing Peter's combat skills in the air, he needed to give Naruto and Sakura all the chances that they could, and they couldn't very well do that if he and Peter were sailing around in the treetops. "Naruto, Sakura now!" Peter shouted out. Kakashi looked up as he saw the two ninja appear out of the brush wielding new weapons. His eyes widened in surprise as he realized what it was that they had planned as their eyes darted from him to the only thing he had in his hands. "You wouldn't dare," was all he managed to get out before they began pitching water balloons at his hand. The ninja was forced to keep moving for fear that his precious book might get wet. He couldn't decide if he was furious at what they were doing or secretly impressed at what they were managing. He then watched Naruto grab two balloons and then use the shadow clone jutsu. "Not good," he muttered as he saw the ninja start doling balloons out amongst themselves. "Water balloon barrage," was the echoing cry as balloons began homing in on him. Kakashi leaped into the air to dodge the attack, only to look up to see a net filled with water balloons sailing towards him. Perhaps he should have treated them with a bit more respect, he thought as he was struck from below and above with water balloons that got water all over him and his precious book. The drenched ninja shook the water off himself and decided that it was time to end this. He didn't know why the alarm hadn't gone off yet, but it was time to finish this. Besides, he needed the chance to see if there was any chance that his book was salvageable. He looked at the book and winced as he already saw that the pages were trying to curl up. The damage, it seemed, was extensive. "All right, you now have my undivided attention," Kakashi said as he pocketed the book and turned to glare at the trio in annoyance. The three ninja moved to attack, and Kakashi observed each of their styles with interest. First there was Naruto. He lacked the planning and well-thought-out movements of his father. Instead he had a more brawler-style combat stance. It was a good style when one was in street fights or fighting numerous opponents, but against a single ninja it had dubious uses, as a well-trained ninja could break through the weak defense that this style often used. Then again, one had to figure out which one was the real Naruto too, he thought as he sliced through several shadow clones. The Parker orphan, ward to the Aburame clan, was moving with a much more fluid grace similar to some of the beast-style taijutsu that some clans used. He was either in a crouched position or slinging himself through the air with a grace and agility that he had rarely seen. It was like he had combined the feral movements of the Inuzuka style along with the fluid and control of the Hyuga style. It made predicting him extremely difficult, as he never knew which method that the young man was going to revert to. Finally there was Sakura. Her style was somewhat wooden, and was strictly academy with no imagination in her attacks or defense. Given time and more training she would likely loosen up and become more comfortable with fighting. He waited and watched as the group made their move. Naruto summoned several shadow clones and Peter moved in with the group. Sakura, on the other hand, was keeping back, but was keeping him busy by tossing the occasional blade at him. He had to admit that they seemed to have finally gotten the idea of the test, at least for the moment. In time, they might actually qualify as a team. The copycat ninja scowled as he saw Aburame release more of his odd strands at him, trying to cage him in. The jutsu had an odd hand seal that he had never seen before, and somehow the boy had made the odd substance a part of his combat style that allowed him to fire either ropes or a strange sludge-like substance that could entrap a person. He had learned from his previous encounter against the boy not to allow the substance to touch, or he would likely be impaired in his fighting. He was being forced to fight at half his usual sight because of his reluctance to use the sharingan against academy graduates. If they kept going at this rate, though, he figured that he might actually have his first team. He really would have to thank the Hokage for sending this group to him, He had been afraid that they would make him the master of the Uchiha boy because of his potential. While the idea of training the last of Obito's clansmen was appealing, he wanted someone who had his old teammate's heart as much as he had his eyes. He dodged several of Sakura's blades, only to be tackled once again by Naruto's clones. He cast a quick replacement jutsu and appeared above them, performing several strikes that made several of the clones disappear in clouds of smoke. He saw two more Narutos coming at him, with a third following up behind them. He threw some kunai at them and watched as they managed to duck under the blades. He wondered why they would duck when they were upon him. The two lead ones were holding him down tightly as a matter of fact. Transformation jutsu, he realized. While the clones had blocked his view, Peter and Sakura had transformed their appearance to mimic Naruto to hide their attack. He had therefore been unprepared for Peter and Sakura's greater strength when they slammed into him. Naruto had used his moment of surprise to obtain the bells from the side of their teacher. Peter, not about to take a chance, began spraying the ninja with his goop. Kakashi figured that they had earned the victory and allowed the ropes to bind him. As the boy held up the bells, they all heard the alarm near the lunches go off. "Well, that was close," Peter said. "All right, we did it," Naruto shouted excitedly as he held the bells. "Here, Sakura, you can choose who gets these," he said, tossing the bells towards the girl. Sakura looked shocked at this. The future of the two boys had just been placed in her hands. Naruto looked at her with a smile, while Peter merely looked at her silently. The girl looked at the bell before she reluctantly tossed a bell to each of them. "What? But Sakura-chan, why?" Naruto said in surprise as he held his bell in shock. "Because the ninja corps needs the two of you a lot more than it needs me," the girl explained to the pair of surprised ninja. "I have family you guys don't. This is what you guys need. Besides, a ninja with a bloodline and a ninja that can use the shadow clone jutsu are more important than a kunoichi that provides support," she admitted somewhat reluctantly. "Very good, Sakura," Kakashi said. "You showed a willingness to do what was good for the village and the team, not what you personally want." The ninja struggled into a sitting position. "I think that I can say with the utmost certainty that you all pass. It took a while for you three to get the idea of the real test." "Real test?" a confused Naruto questioned. "Wasn't getting the bells the test, though?" he asked dumbly as he looked at the bells. "In part," Kakashi admitted, "but like I said before, you must look underneath the underneath. It was a test to see how we worked under pressure then," Peter guessed. "In part, it was also to see how you worked as a unit," Kakashi explained to the young boy. "With having something to lose, it made it more important for you to try your hardest. The three of you had to rise above what you wanted and work together as a team before any of you were able to succeed. Peter, you and Naruto are used to working together, and have made a habit out of it despite the protests of some. Sakura, meanwhile, is a new element into the group dynamic that you have, and needed some way to see if she would work with what you and Naruto could already do. As you saw, she makes a great support or distraction while you prepare for the next level. Sakura does need some work, but she does have the potential to join your dynamic extremely well. Once you let her in, that is..." "Wow, that's a lot to take in," Sakura said as she sat down, trying to wrap her mind around the multiple layers that the test had worked them over. "Yes. Now then, Peter, if you could release me from this?" Kakashi pleaded, as he gestured to the silk rope-like strands that were holding him in place. "Heh, about that, sensei," Peter said nervously. "There's not an easy way to dispel it, which is why I didn't web you to the ground." "Then how do I get out of it?" Kakashi questioned him. "Well, you see, it dissolves in about an hour, but till then you're stuck in that cocoon," Peter explained to the masked ninja. "But my book," Kakashi said in despair, as he realized that after an hour any hopes he had of repairing his book would be ruined. Yes, sorry about that, sensei," Sakura said in embarrassment. "Maybe the Hokage will replace it if you tell him it was damaged because of a training accident," she tried hopefully. "Not with Kunai watching," Kakashi said morosely, as he morosely leaned his head back. "The three of you might as well go and get the lunch boxes, though, since we'll be here for a while, it seems. If I'm stuck here, then you three are as well. We could let Sakura try and cut you out," Peter suggested, trying to sound friendly. "I'm sure that after that genjutsu of yours, she would love a chance to cut you out." The girl smiled, and her eyes seemed to glow at Peter's rather deliberate pause. "Ah no. Besides, this way will let me know more about your webbing as well," the man said nervously as he eyed the girl with dread. "Just go and get your lunches for now." The three nodded as they ran off to get the lunches. The Hokage, who had watched the test from his crystal ball jutsu, chuckled as he heard the plight of one of his top ninja. That was indeed a funny side effect of the training ending. He wondered if Kakashi would realize that Peter had also used the time to fill the water balloons to add an extra 15 minutes to their test time. The boy was very inventive and tricky, and he could hardly wait to see what else he and Naruto could manage to come up with. Shibuya Broom bowed as the Hokage entered his office. "Lord Hokage," the man said respectfully. "Shibi, what brings you here?" the old man questioned curiously. "My clan elders have heard of the team assignments and requested that I come and plead with you to change them up," Shibi explained to the man. "It would be better in the eyes of many within our clan if he was to have less association with the Uzumaki boy." The Hokage nodded his head at this. He had actually expected this meeting to happen before the final tests, which meant that Peter had managed to keep his team assignment a secret until this evening. This was no small feat when you considered the fact that the Abrum clan were not only highly placed but were some of the best tracking and recon ninja that Konoha had. He would have to see if he could figure out how Peter managed that particular little trick one of these days, as it might prove useful. "You know that I can't do that, Shibi. Peter and Naruto are a perfect balance of chaos and order along with Sakura. Add in the fact that Peter is one of the few people that can successfully calm Naruto down, and it was a good match. Besides, Team 7 has already had their final tests, and there is nothing that I can do to change the fact that they already passed the test. In fact, they are the first team to ever pass the passing exam held by Hatake Kakashi. I am sure you have heard the rumors of how hard it is to pass his tests," he pointed out to the man. "Their skills in teamwork should be celebrated." Shino and his team also managed to graduate with flying colors as well under the watch of Yuhi Kurenai. Shibi nodded his head in understanding of the warning that the Hokage was giving to him. The conversation was official over if that was all that he wished to speak of. "Yes, we the clan are all proud of both of them for passing the tests, studying under the tutelage of a genjutsu mistress like Yuhi, and a ninja like Hatake will ensure their progress into becoming great ninjas. It would seem that the information got to the clan elders a little too late, but I did still have to try. I am extremely proud of both of the boys in their accomplishments." The Hokage smiled grimly at the man as he saw the barest trace of a smirk on the normally emotionless Abrum's face. It seemed that Peter might have less to do with it and that Shibi had more to do with it. It did make a certain amount of sense. Shibi had often been praised one of the best clan heads because of his ability to keep a cool and impartial opinion on things. "May they both live long and productive lives as shinobi," the third said to the clan head. "I am sorry to have taken up your time, Lord Hokage. I shall allow you to get back to work now," Shibi said as he rose to his feet. "Thank you, and I shall of course pass along any messages of concern that you have for your ward," the Hokage said, as he watched the man disappear into a swarm of bugs that flew out the open window. "So what do you think, Kakashi?" the Hokage seemingly asked into thin air. The silver head man dropped from his hiding place on the ceiling. "I doubt that there will be any more problems from them now that you made your decision on the matter clear," Kakashi assured him. "If not, we will work around it as best as we can." "Good," the third said as he chewed on his pipe. "And Haruno, what is her reaction?" "She is indifferent over his status. Her main annoyance with Naruto is that she has somehow convinced herself that it is his fault that Sasuke is not on a team with her. You know how girls are at that age," the ninja said somewhat mockingly. "I see normal problems then when it comes to team assignments," the third said with a smile. "So I am told," Kakashi admitted, reminding the man that he had never had a team for more than a single day or two before he sent them back to the academy. "And the villagers, what is their reaction to knowing that Naruto made it to shinobi status?" the Hokage continued to question with interest. "You mean you haven't had council members barging in here yet?" Kakashi questioned back in amusement. "I would have thought that they would have been most vocal about their displeasure." "Actually, I have heard from them," the Hokage admitted to the ninja, But it is one thing to have the council heads telling me the opinion of the street, and it is another to have my own eyes and ears telling me what is going on in my village. I doubt that there will be any real troubles there. Many of the villagers have decided it is in their best interest to no longer continue with their physical assaults. Now that Naruto is allowed to carry weapons on him full-time, there are fewer that want to try themselves against him. It didn't hurt that you made it a mission for several chunin to frequent the bars and spread that particular message either, Kakashi added while giving the Hokage a knowing look. It is one thing to attack a defenseless unarmed trainee, it is another entirely if one were to take action against an active shinobi. There are certain laws against that sort of thing that are rather severe, as I recall. The Hokage chuckled at this. Well, I suppose that I should let you get going so that you can have plenty of time to get to your training field, the third noted with a smirk of his own. Keep an eye on Naruto, though. As you command, Kakashi agreed, bowing respectfully before disappearing in swirl of leaves. While these conversations were going on, the trio of ninjas were waiting for their sensei at a bridge. As they sat and waited, Peter drew a whetstone and began sharpening his various blades. He started with his kunai, and once those were done, he began working with his shuriken. He slowly drew each blade back and forth several times, making a scratchy scraping sound that drew the attention of the other two genin. Naruto saw his friend working, and before they knew it, he took his own gear out and began sharpening his weapons as well. Sakura stared at the pair in surprise and shock as the two boys began to do maintenance on the various bits and pieces of gear that they were carrying, ensuring that each piece was in top working condition. Sighing, Sakura soon found herself joining her teammates in their work as she began working on her own weapons. When Kakashi appeared in a cloud of smoke, he was pleased to see that his students were finishing up their preparations for their day's missions. His eyes scanned over the trio. It seemed that they were learning to make use the time he made them wait. It was important for a ninja to have patience, and while Peter, despite his energy levels being so like Naruto's, he was the only one capable to keep calm after he appeared. Sakura and Naruto had unfortunately not been as capable and often reacted in loud and excitable manners whenever they saw him after long periods of waiting. The pair would probably never make ANBU unless they learned how to control those tempers, and more importantly their mouths. A good ANBU had to be able to spend long periods of time in absolute silence, either in observation or guard duty. They had to be able to enter and leave without anyone knowing that they were there. It seemed that Peter was helping them to learn this particular skill faster than his own methods were. If they could manage it, they would show that they had potential to control their minds and bodies in times of need. Until they learned control of themselves, they were not ready for the more advanced teaching that he could give them. He was not going to arm a genin with powerful jutsu until he was sure that they could use them responsibly. Well guys, we have to get some training in, he said in approval as he looked them over. And since all of your weapons are already set, we might as well start with target practice. The genin nodded as they strapped their weapons on and got to work. That was how many of their days went. Kakashi was always running late, so they would then start with either inspecting their gear, or they would be practicing with a move that Kakashi had given them to work on. Kakashi worked on fixing the sloppy methods of Naruto's taijutsu, while he made Sakura more comfortable with getting into fights while helping her gain control over using the substitution jutsu in combat situations. The academy had done the pair of them a disservice by either ignoring Naruto or allowing Sakura to overdevelop her theoretical knowledge in exchange for her ninja skills. A ninja had to be well-balanced in both physical and mental abilities, as they learned during Konoha Chunin exams. Peter, on the other hand, being well-balanced, was trained in better control and uses of his bracers in combat and reinforcing his other skills. During their missions, the trio competed in friendly ways over completing their missions. Naruto and Peter, being the energy demons that they were, made it easy to do 2 or 3 missions in the time it took most teams to perform one mission. Their missions ranged from hard and heavy labor of working on a farm for the day, to simple chores like picking up groceries for an old woman. In each case, he was able to teach his students some new thing. Looking underneath the underneath meant that they weren't even always aware that they were learning things. Guy may prefer raw training methods, but Kakashi preferred more subtle manner of training his students. Most of his fellow Jonin preferred to work on just one specialization with their students. Kakashi intended to not only train his students, but he intended to make them become the best in all aspects. First, he had to get them up to the standards needed though. When they were cleaning the streams near the waterfalls, he was letting them learn balance and strengthening their legs as they fought the current. When they were helping with the picking of herbs from a garden, they were learning how best to identify the proper plants. When they were doing chores out in the country, they were stressing their muscles to new levels, in Sakura's case strengthening energy reserves. Others might see his methods as not doing anything and letting his students run wild, but in reality he was strengthening their core abilities by letting them run on missions. This was part of why the D-rank missions had originally been designed to help a ninja strengthen their core abilities and still get paid to do it as well. Peter, on the other hand, was well versed in his unique combat style, but his love of tricks and weapons and other ninja tools had him training the boy to use all of the equipment that he could. He was training him in lock-picking, other subtler methods of gathering information. Naruto and Sakura needed the missions to even out their physical abilities. Sakura had devoted so much of her time to the mental aspects that she had neglected the physical aspects of what being a kunoichi meant. A part of him wished he could have gotten a hard-working ninja like Guy's students. Still, he would make do with what he had. Naruto, on the other hand, suffered from malnutrition and needed someone to be there for him to help build his self-worth up and teach him better survival methods. He was going to have to deal with Iruka sooner or later, though. The Chunin had done all but adopt the boy, and had become like an overprotective relative with the boy. Sooner or later, the Chunin was going to have to accept the fact that his students needed to stretch their wings. From what he had read, the man had trained an entire year of near prodigies this year anyways. If he continued doing so, the man might never have to worry about other missions again in his life, as he was too valuable as a trainer. The Chunin hadn't believed it possible, but he was proud at the rate that his students were coming along with their training. His students were becoming much stronger even if they didn't always see it. Soon they would be ready for even more important class of missions than what they were doing now. He stood high above them in a tree as he watched them carry out their current mission. This was a mission that tested their skills in tracking, teamwork, capturing, and several other minor skills that were required for a ninja to have out in the field. Down below on the forest floor, it was relatively quiet. It hid a flurry of activity that was going on inside, as ninja moved through it on their missions throughout the village. In one section of the forest, a team was busy hunting for prey that was one of the most elusive and sometimes dangerous creatures that patrolled the inner forest of Konoha. Shulky here. No sign of the target on this end. The voice of Sakura crackled through the radio on his ear. Torch here. Nothing to report either. Naruto's voice returned to them. Torch. Shulky. This is Cyclops. You need to tighten your circle, you two, Kakashi advised, as he triggered his own mic. After the first week, Peter had surprised them all by coming up with new and different call signs for all of them. While his own was rather unimpressive, the other two were odd and somewhat imaginative. Comparing Naruto to a torch with his particular clothing style was amusing. Then there was Sakura's. He hadn't quite translated what it meant, but he figured with time he would. Once he learned that it might help with the mystery that was the Abrum clan boy. Spider here. Belay that, the target is moving south. Peter's voice shot over the mics. Kakashi nodded in approval. Peter's ease with moving through the treetops allowed him to patrol easier. Once he taught the others how to tree walk, they would quickly catch up with him in being able to patrol larger areas with just a few leaps. Then again, the way he moved was nearly at Chunin level as it was now. As he got older, it was likely that he would become even more agile in roaming the tree and building tops. He watched as Naruto and Sakura performed a pincer maneuver that had the target rushing away in fear and in a near direct line. Weapons that had a slight edge to them, but were thrown wide enough that they weren't likely to kill their target. The target rushed through some brush and there was a yowl of anger and disgust. The two brightly colored ninja jumped through the brush, their weapons ready only to freeze at the sight that was before them. Tora the cat, the bane of all Class D ninja, was fighting against the confines of a silken web. Meanwhile, Peter was resting upside down on a tree branch waiting for the rest of his teammates to show. Kakashi appeared in a swirl of leaves and nodded to his students. Well done, all of you. Your teamwork has been getting much better over these last few weeks, he complimented, as he watched Sakura cut the ribbon-wearing cat free. One of these days we're going to have to remember to bring a cage or basket to carry that demonic pile of clawed fur back with us, Peter noted as his teammates passed the furry animal back and forth between them. Having been the one to finally capture the small demon, it gave him a pass from actually having to tote the animal back. Yes, that would be a good idea, Kakashi agreed. Still, I suppose that we should get it back now, he noted, ignoring his students' discomfort over wrestling with a protesting captive. There would be times that their prisoners would not willingly go with them and would struggle while they were moving. Peter could have webbed the cat up, but the feudal lord's wife always made such a big production out of it whenever they brought the cat back all wrapped up. Peter had taken to hiding out of view when the woman was around, so she didn't complain too much to him over the damage her cat had taken. Peter, it seemed, had a unique skill in rubbing government officials wrong and making them angry enough at him that they preferred him out of sight, out of mind. The copycat ninja wished that it was a skill that he could imitate somehow, but the boy didn't do anything but be his usual mocking self. Once they entered the Hokage's office, Peter quickly slipped up into the rafters, and moments later the feudal lord's wife appeared and swiftly tossed a bag of money to the Hokage before taking the cat up in her arms. I trust that you made sure that other ninja of yours kept far away from my precious baby? The woman questioned as she glared at Kakashi. Do you see him anywhere around here, Madam Shirjimi? The ninja said with his typical light voice. Sakura had quickly placed her hand over Naruto's mouth, preventing him from saying anything, while the woman finished up her bit of business with the Hokage and Irika. The Chunin, it seemed, was assisting in the placement of missions for the time being between graduating classes. The man would likely start his next batch of students in a few weeks and be free from mission assignments for a while. See to it that he remains away from my darling baby, the woman said, sniffing loudly at the masked figure before waltzing off. And a pleasure to see you too, Peter said sarcastically, as he lowered himself upside down to stare at the closed door. On the plus side, it does make it easier for me to catch her when all I have to do is to lay the traps, he added while getting mutinous glares from his teammates. Irika shook his head at the antics of his former students. It seemed that their time under Kakashi had not done as much as he had hoped in maturing them. In fact, if the rumors he heard were true, Sakura was now helping Peter and Naruto in pulling off some of their pranks. It was hard to be sure, though, because of that damn shadow clone jutsu that Naruto had learned. In combination with the transformation jutsu, it was sometimes hard to know how many people were actually a part of the pranks. The last one had ended up with half of the Konoha city lights blinking out Morse code for several hours before the lights finally shut down and returned to normal. The prank had been far too sophisticated for Naruto, but for Peter and Sakura it was easily within their capabilities. He was sure that an earlier prank done by Naruto and Third's grandson had set the stage for the other two to do their business eve if he couldn't prove it. The worst part was that there was no sign of forced entry, so they couldn't even really blame anyone for it. It hadn't been until the next day, when going through reports, that he had found out that the lights had created a symbol that could only be seen when looking down on the village from the top of Hokage Monument. The very place where Team 7 had so conveniently happened to be training and were able to see the show of their handiwork even if there was no real proof of their having done it. He remembered when Kakashi had been brought in later that night, but had admitted to no prior knowledge of the prank. The pride in the man's single eye, though, as he had listened to everything that had happened, and the fact that the emblem for his book had been used, was enough to confirm his suspicions. The man had stopped that line of questioning, though, when he had asked if he was the only one to read the books. That question had quickly silenced every male in the room, while the women had all glared suspiciously at the men. Irika was brought out of his musings over the rambunctious team in time to hear Naruto demanding that they get a more important mission. There was no way in hell that he was going to let Naruto get hurt, though. The boy was nowhere near ready for a dangerous mission, no matter how skilled his team appeared to be getting. They were only just approaching the point in their training where they would be allowed to learn new and improved chakra control exercises. He and Naruto argued back and forth for about a minute before the Hokage silenced him as he began explaining the ninja mission ranking system to the group. The orange-clad boy basically ignored the man and still demanded a chance to prove himself against one of the more important class missions. The Hokage shocked all of them by agreeing to allowing Team 7 out of the village on an escort mission. He had personally thought that Team Guy or one of the other more experienced genin teams was going to get that particular mission. He just knew that the Spandex Ninja would make some speech about Kakashi and his team getting the mission now, though. Lord Hokage, are you this is a good idea? Irika questioned the man nervously as he eyed his former students with concern. Indeed, the Hokage said with a nod as he inspected the team of genin. Besides, I think the village could do without the antics of Team 7 for a couple of weeks anyways. Don't you? Of course, Lord Hokage. Irika quickly agreed. Good. Now send in our visitor, the Hokage commanded. When the doors opened to admit a man, they saw a gray-haired figure wearing peasant clothes, red bleary eyes, a traveling pack, and a bottle of beer in his hand. The man leaned against the door as he examined the group before him. What the? A bunch of snot-nosed kids, the man said indignantly before taking a swig from his bottle. And you, the one with idiotic outfit hanging upside down. You really expect me to believe that you're a ninja? So says the guy that can barely stand upright or perform decent language skills. Peter shot back as he dropped to the ground, landing on his hands and feet. I mean, judging by those clothes you're wearing, are you sure that you can even afford a ninja team? Play nice, Peter. Kakashi returned to his student, having learned from experience that was merely the opening shot as far as his charge was concerned. What? I'm just saying, when the guy looks like he's just spent the past few weeks bar hopping with his life savings, it hardly makes a person think that we're dealing with someone that is actually of any worth. Peter shot at his sensei, earning smirks from his teammates. What have I told you about looking underneath the underneath? The ninja questioned back at him. Now please be quiet. The old man glared slightly at the mouthy ninja. I am Tazuna, Master Bridge Builder, and I must return to my country. I'm building a bridge there that will change our world, and I expect you to get me there safely, even if it means giving up your life. Yeah. Sure, whatever you say, old man, Naruto said, earning a glare from several of the ninja. Kakashi, do try and instill some manners into your team while you're gone. They seem to have forgotten many of the rules of conduct for a ninja, the Hokage informed the Jonin. They don't react that way unless someone insults them first. The Jonin returned to the group sitting at the table. Considering the fact that this one called them idiots and snot-nosed brats, I'd say they were merely defending themselves. Kakashi returned. Yeah, it's not our fault that this guy came to a battle of wits unarmed, Peter added, in causing the Hokage to smile at the antics of the group despite his displeasure. And to think, Sakura used to be such a respectful young Kunoichi too, Irika said, as he watched the pink-haired girl openly smile at Peter's jokes as the group left to prepare their gear, leaving an unsure old man over the kind of protection he was getting while Kakashi accepted the order papers that would get the team out of the village. An hour later, the team appeared at the village gates. The trio of genin were somewhat surprised when they saw that their sensei was already there waiting on them alongside of Tazuna and a familiar-looking dark-haired woman with red eyes. Good to see that you three got here, Kakashi said as he looked the trio over. Now, open your packs so that I can make sure that you didn't pack any non-required equipment. Sakura, this is Sensei Yuhi Kurinai. She will be inspecting your pack. Sakura let out a relieved sigh over the fact that she would not have to open her back to her male sensei. She really didn't want her clothes being flashed around for someone like Naruto to see. The pair of jonin worked quickly and efficiently. Naruto was forced to leave behind half of his ramen supply. Sakura had to leave several beauty products behind, and Peter was limited to just one book. The group was then given a list of things that they might need next time for such missions. Kurinai turned to look at Kakashi curiously. Are you sure that your team is capable of handling this type of mission? Genin don't normally get C ranks for a reason. My entire team mouthed off about only getting bad or simplistic D rank missions, and their punishment is to find themselves on one long dreary C rank guard mission. Kakashi explained to the red-eyed woman. They seem to think that they're in the big leagues and should be given better and more important missions. Hopefully this will teach them to open their mouths about things that they don't really understand. I suppose that I'll have to remind them some of what it means to be a Kage as well. He added somewhat distastefully at the thought of spending his time lecturing his students on things that they should have already known from the academy. The woman smirked as she heard of the punishment that the unknowing genin had acquired for themselves. Be careful, Kakashi, Kurinai said, and put that damn book of yours away, she added, giving the man a glare. I'll do my best to keep all of them safe. Kakashi returned to her as he waved her goodbye. Have fun with your team while we're gone. The same with you, Kakashi, and train them in something now that you no longer have the other missions to use as a crutch, she added, before she disappeared in a swirl of leaves. The group left, and the moment they were out the gates, Naruto began cheering for his first time out of the walls of the village. Peter chuckled at his friend but grunted a bit as he felt a flash of images. A giant statue holding a torch, a mountain with a collection of faces carved into them just like the Hokage mountain, a strange stone fortress, a large wall that seemed to stretch for miles, so many images of places that he had never seen before yet seemed oddly familiar at the same time. Along with these odd places came faces of all sorts, some white like himself and some dark-skinned. It was like they were things, places, and people that he was supposed to know. Shaking his head, he noticed that Kakashi was holding Naruto back from attacking the bridge builder. "Naruto, I thought we went over this already. No attacking the client, the idea is to keep him alive. We lose half of our pay if the client ends up dead," Kakashi informed the temperamental ninja. Peter looked up as he felt his spider sense flare. It was like when he felt some of the people glaring at him when he with Naruto and they thought that he should die by association. Despite that, he couldn't figure out where the dark feelings were coming from. The group spent 2 weeks traveling on the path between the land of fire and the land of waves thanks to the slow pace that the bridge builder set for them. While they traveled, Kakashi lectured the team from time to time on village politics and other things that were important for a ninja to know. During the rest breaks, he would train on of them in various weapon, wilderness survival, or fighting skills while the others were positioned in guard duty. Naruto made this job particularly easy as he could be in multiple places at once. All in all, though, the mission was one big boring mess that none of the genin were real happy to have, and were all counting the days that they would be free from having to guard an old drunkard who seemed to have a large feeling of self-importance. Until then, they were stuck in the same old boring routine. "So tell me, sensei, are all missions away from the village this boring?" Peter questioned the genin during one of their rest breaks. Kakashi sighed as his students turned to look at him. "Peter, you need to remember that a boring mission is a good mission because it means that everything is going according to plan," the genin reminded his student. "If things are going bad, that means that we're having problems that we weren't expecting, and that means trouble. But we shouldn't have to worry about anything like that now, should we, Tazuna?" he questioned, turning to look towards the bridge builder curiously. No, I can't imagine anything that might be coming up that would be unexpected. I just need you to stop any highway bandits," the bridge builder said in hasty agreement with the ninja. The genin turned his eye on the man for a moment before turning back to his students. "You see, as long as we don't have anything unexpected happen, then we should be fine, and this will be like nothing more than a small training mission." The students nodded at the sensei before they began the process of breaking their camp. The group was passing near the border between the two lands when the mission went wrong for them, though. They were passing by a pair of puddles that were on the edges of the border when the attack came. Peter's senses had blared at him for a second that there was danger before settling back down. But there had been nothing around, so he had done his best to ignore the sense of danger that he had felt, figuring it was nothing more than his senses acting crazy like they had the entire trip. Besides, if there was a real threat, he figured Kakashi would have said something or at least given them some kind of signal that there was something wrong, so he ignored the feeling. When a pair of cloaked ninjas launched themselves out of either puddle and swung a giant bladed chain that linked them together around Kakashi, and then sliced him into small hunks, he moved. Sakura placed herself in guard 1 position while he noted Naruto had frozen. He caught the arm of one of the ninja and snapped him back with a kick. The ninja went sailing towards a tree, dragging his partner with him with the chain that connected the two. As the two passed one tree, they were all surprised to see the chain tear through a giant tree that looked like it was some 100 years old. "Man, I've heard of being joined at the hip but never the arm. You guys really take it to a whole new level, don't you?" Peter mocked the pair. "You ready to show these guys what happens when you have to go one-on-one with a leaf shinobi Naruto?" His friend barely nodded, but since he was now in between the ninja and the others, they would have to pass him to get at the others. "Destroy them," one of the ninjas said as they moved forward, ready to take on the group of genin. The pair detached the chain from their gloves and swung it in the direction of the bridge builder. Peter and Sakura responded by launching kunai at the incoming chain, knocking it off course and pinning it to tree. The ninja had used the chain as a distraction, though, as they had used the time to rush at the genin. One of the ninja moved in at Naruto while the other swung around to target the bridge builder. Peter made his choice and placed himself between the Sakura, the bridge builder, and the incoming ninja. He raised his arms in a defensive stance, hoping that his bracers would be able to stand up to the incoming claws. He saw the other ninja backhand Naruto and instead of following up the attack was following after his partner. "Sakura, when I stop this guy you take out his partner," he ordered his teammate. The girl readied herself to take on either of the ninja should she need to. Peter waited, and once the claws were nearly at him, he struck with all the speed he could muster. Grabbing the incoming arm around the wrist, he gave a half-turn and threw the ninja into a tree. The ninja wobbled a bit in the air as he tried to right himself. The speed and strength of the genin had surprised him, and he sailed face first into a tree. Sakura followed up the attack with several kunai that struck in the shoulders. The ninja grunted and yanked the blade out of his shoulder, letting the blade drop to the ground. He lunged again. "This is going to hurt," Peter noted as he braced himself for the incoming missile. He doubted his enhanced speed and strength would help him this time. "Sakura, I'll try and grab him. You take him out though." The pair were startled as an arm appeared out of nowhere and clotheslined the ninja. The pair looked up in shock as they saw Kakashi holding a ninja in either arm. "Hi," the ninja greeted them casually. "Took you long enough, boss man," Peter informed the genin as he finally lowered his arms. "Yes, sorry about that. I was curious to see how you would all handle yourselves," Kakashi apologized. "Naruto, I didn't think that you would freeze up like that." "Peter, Sakura, you both did a good job." Naruto flushed in embarrassment at his teammates having outperformed him. Peter nodded his head at their teacher angrily. He could understand why Naruto had frozen like that. In a way, it was like some of the attacks that Naruto had suffered while in the village, and he got in more trouble for fighting with his attackers than he did if he just took the beating. It was going to take time for his friend to accept that he could fight back. "Don't worry, Naruto, you'll get them next time," he assured his friend. Naruto grinned at that and began making swiping movements. "Yeah, don't worry about me, next time I'll show them." "Believe it." "Naruto, be still," Kakashi commanded. "These ninja have poison-tipped weapons." Kakashi tied the enemy ninja up and began interrogating them and the bridge builder. "All right now, tell me what it is that is going on here," Kakashi demanded of the man. "This mission is far beyond the skill set of what you told us. These are the demon brothers of the hidden mist village. They are missing ninja and part of a radical group that was exiled from the village a few years ago. They are known for their use in relentless attacks and poison-tipped weapons. Now who is it that you have us working against that hates you enough to send killers of this level after you?" "Well, how do you know that they were after me? Maybe they were after someone else." Tazuna tried to bluster back at the genin. "I thought that might be the case, which is why I watched. They were more interested in taking you out than they were in taking any of the rest of my team out. Now what is going on?" "Well, you see," the bridge builder stuttered. "Oh, please," Peter said as he suddenly grabbed the old man in one hand and leaped into a tree several feet off the ground. "Here's how it works. You tell us or I drop you on the ground, old man." "You wouldn't dare, you're just a kid," Tazuna stuttered out as he eyed the ground below them. "And your lies got my friend poisoned," Peter returned to him. The old man remained silent as he fearfully looked at the ground. "Fine, have a nice trip," Peter said as he released him and let him fall. The man screamed only to stop as he was jerked back up at the last second as Kakashi saved him and set him down on the ground. "Do you feel like answering now? Or do I let my student here see how far a fall a human body can endure?" Kakashi questioned. "Fine, I'll tell you. But keep your little assassin away from me," Tazuna said as he eyed the figure on a tree branch with fear. "I'll do my best as long as you remain honest with me," Kakashi returned to the old man with a smirk. "If not, well, you better hope he doesn't realize you weren't being honest with us." "Fine, I'll tell you everything," Tazuna agreed. "You have heard of the man that wishes me dead. He is the shipping mogul Gato." "Gato?" Sakura questioned dubiously. "As in the owner of Gato Transport? He has shipping business all over the world. Why would he care about your little town? Gato may be a well-respected businessman, but he is also a cold-hearted man that deals business in all of the illegal methods as well, drugs, smuggling, you name it. Gato has a hand in it somewhere in the world. He has controlling interest in most of the gangs and rogue ninja groups as well," Tazuna explained to Team 7. Peter nodded, This story sounded so similar to him, the image of a large man in a white suit came to mind, and behind him were an assortment of figures. One was large with a gray body, while another was dressed in an odd yellow substance. He ignored the images and focused on what the bridge builder was saying at the moment, though. Tazuna continued his explanation despite the interruptions. A year ago, Gato began taking over the land of waves. With his fortune, he quickly took control of our government and transportation. The only hope we have of stopping him now is to complete the bridge. As long as the land of waves is separated from the rest of the world, he will be able to do as he likes. But if we can manage to build the bridge, then we will be able to break his control over our land. He has tried many things to stop us, like having laws that would slow production, or shipments would be lost, pirates would strike our goods. Anyone that did try and get in his way would disappear, or would be made an example of. I see, Kakashi said. So why did you lie to us about the mission? It sounds as if a team of Jonin or Chunin would have been preferable than what we sent. Had we known that, we would have staffed for an A or B rank mission and charged you for such, because no one has the money to pay for that type of mission besides Gato. Even our nobles are struggling just to keep food on the tables right now, the bridge builder explained. Kakashi nodded in acceptance of that. Very well, we will continue the mission for now. But I need to send a message back to the village to have a team on standby to either support us or avenge us if we're not heard from in a few days' time, Kakashi said as he made several hand signs. Summoning jutsu, he cried out, and a dog appeared in a cloud of smoke. Here, take this to the Hokage, he said to the dog, passing it a note. The animal nodded before rushing off. All right then, Naruto, let's look at that injury. The boy placed his hand in his sensei's hands. It doesn't look as bad as I thought, Kakashi said as he quickly wrapped the wound. Does his enhanced healing have something to do with that? Peter questioned curiously. Enhanced healing? Sakura questioned curiously. Yeah, Naruto and I both heal at increased rates, Peter said with a shrug. I heal at about 4 times the normal rate of a regular ninja, whereas Naruto here heals at 10 times the rate of your average shinobi. Makes us great for first-line assault or long-term missions. So Naruto can do the shadow clone jutsu and he can heal? Sakura questioned in disbelief over what someone at the bottom of the class could do. Sure, Kiba and a few others had all competed against each other for bottom of the class, but everyone knew that it was only because of Peter's constant tutoring that he had managed to be where he was. Yes, Sakura, it is a nice little side effect of Naruto being who he is, Kakashi said as he rose to his feet. However, that little bit of information is classified unless Naruto wants to explain it. Peter, any other abilities that Naruto has need to be kept quiet, he told the genin sternly. Sorry, sensei. But you're the one who is always saying that we need to know each other better and all that, Peter said. Thought you would have said something anyways. Very well. But next time let Naruto be the one to tell of his secrets and abilities, Kakashi conceded to the other boy. So what about them, sensei? We can't very well leave them here, can we? Naruto said, eyeing the brothers. No, you're right, we can't leave them here, Kakashi noted to his genin. They're likely to either escape or be set free by any of their companions. He drew one of the metal gloves out before he scratched each of the brothers with the tip. Sensei, what are you doing? Sakura asked, shocked at what the man had just done to their prisoners. Making sure that they stay out of the way, Kakashi returned to her calmly. I didn't scratch them deeply enough for the poison to be deadly, just enough to make them extremely sick and keep the pair of them down for a couple of weeks. As long as they get proper medical attention, that is, he said, staring at the two ninja knowingly. I would recommend find a decent healer and getting your wounds looked after, he added while glaring at the pair. Come along, we need to get going now. The genin and Tazuna nodded as they headed down the trail. Kakashi turned to look back at the brothers one last time. Take this as a warning as to what happens to those that try and kill my precious people, the Jonin said before walking after the group, eyeing a pair of terrified ninja. The group quickly passed over the river that surrounded the village and smuggled into a town via a boat traveling through a secret tunnel. Thanking the boatman, the group moved onward, doing their best to stay on the alert for any more attacks. Okay guys, we're now in the land of waves, Kakashi informed his students as they were standing on the edges of the town. Do one final equipment check now. Because once we enter the forest it is likely that we will be attacked, but it will be up to them on the how and the when. They'll need to try at least one more time before we get Tazuna back to his home and the bridge. The trio nodded as they checked their weapons over and tightened their sandals and pouches. Sakura, I think that you might want to consider either putting your hair up, or at least putting it in a braid. Leaving it hanging like that, it is likely to get in your way, Kakashi warned the girl. It'll be fine, sensei, Sakura assured him as she flipped her long pink hair behind her. Yeah, besides I hardly think that you're one to talk on having long hair, Naruto joked nervously. Kakashi ignored the jokester and focused on his other student. Very well, Sakura, I'll leave it be for now. But if it gets in the way I will take actions, he warned her. Sensei, there's something I've been wondering about, Peter said as he looked at their Jonin. You want to know why it is that your spider sense didn't register the Demon Mist brothers? Kakashi said knowingly. Yeah, I mean during the fight I could sense when the attacks were coming, but I should have sensed them before that, Peter said irritably. What good is the ability to sense an incoming attack if I miss it completely like I did with that genjutsu? Kakashi regarded his student for a moment before he began speaking. Peter, I have studied you and your abilities for a while now and believe that the reason is that unless the threat is to you, you won't sense it. Their targets in order were myself, Tazuna, and then yourselves. You were barely even a consideration to them until after you got in their way. So unless it's a threat to me personally, I won't be able to sense it? Peter said in a discouraged voice. As far as we know you can't, the Jonin agreed. It could be that after time and training that you will be able to increase the area you can sense, or it could be that it will always be at the point where you can almost predict an attack before it happens. It also means that you should not blindly depend on your ability during a mission. You may have this danger or spider sense of yours, but it is only good to a certain extent. You have many other senses to detect danger with as well. Your ears can hear the breaking of a twig. Your nose can smell smoke or mildew. Your eyes can see, and your body can feel. Combine these skills along with your spider sense and you could truly become a dangerous and powerful ninja. All of you could, he added, noticing that his other students were now listening to their conversation. More battles have been won by taking advantage of the environment than anything else, he advised the group. The genin all nodded their heads in acceptance of the teaching that Kakashi was giving them. Do we need to revert to call signs for this one, Kakashi-sensei? Naruto questioned eagerly. Kakashi paused at that. No, that won't be required as of the moment. They probably already know we're here or the area and know our basic numbers. Hiding our names for this won't matter, I'm afraid. The group nodded their acceptance of their leader's group, began moving forward, each nervous and expectant as to what could be happening next in this mission that had obviously gone from the Class C that it was to something much higher. Naruto was currently in front at point, Peter and Sakura were on either side of Tazuna guard the flanks, and Kakashi was the rear guard where he could watch over all of them. He allowed Naruto to get ahead of the group as it was likely that he could take a hit before anything else happened and he might put any attacker at ease. Peter tensed as they came to an isolated area near a small lake. Sensei? Yes, Peter. Kakashi retuned. We're being watched, Peter said as he readied himself for when their opponent came out of hiding. Good work, Peter. Can you detect the direction? Kakashi questioned as he allowed his eye to roam the forest. They were interrupted as Naruto threw his kunai. The brush rustled and a snow-white rabbit bounded out of the green brush. Whoops, looks like I missed, Naruto said with a chuckle. Wait, since when do snow bunnies play in the forest? Sakura questioned as she used her encyclopedia-like knowledge. Shouldn't it be brown, sensei? Good eye, Sakura. Now if everyone would duck, Kakashi said as he tackled the old man and Sakura to the ground. Naruto also fell to the ground and Peter leaped into the air as a large blade whistled near silently where their heads had been moments before. The giant blade slammed into a tree trunk and a figure flickered on top of the long hilt. The figure was lean and well-muscled. He was bare-chested except for the large sheath that crossed his chest. He wore gray pants and cameo leggings and arm coverings. He had the bottom half of his face wrapped in bandages. Spiked hair and a headband set at an angle with a large scratch through the design. Man, you don't go halfway when you decide to take a little bit off the top, do you? Peter joked at the figure standing there. I mean, I know Sensei needs to get a trim, but that was a little bit excessive if you want my opinion. Peter, be quiet, Kakashi said as he wandered towards the figure standing on the blade. Well, if it isn't Zabuza Momochi, rogue ninja from the village hidden in the mist, he said pleasantly, as he identified there used the moment his sensei was talking to try and launch an attack only for Kakashi to block him. You're in the way, get back, he commanded coolly. But why? An angry Naruto questioned. He's not like those other ninja, Kakashi warned the impulsive blonde. He's in a whole other league. If he's our opponent, then I'll need this, the man said as he withdrew his hand and raised it to his headband and held his hand near the metal plate. The trio looked on in curious surprise, wondering what the man had planned. Did their sensei indeed have an eye there instead of it being missing like they had all suspected? Kakashi of the Sharingan eye? Did I get that right? Zabuza questioned idly. It's really too bad, but you're going to have to hand over that old man. Kakashi ignored the command. Team 7 Manji formation now. Let's see if all the time teaching you teamwork has paid off. The team froze though as they saw their sensei lift the headband the rest of the way up, and they saw a nasty-looking scar that traveled across his closed eye. A moment later he opened his eye and they saw a red eye with 3 black marks within it. I'm ready, the man declared. Well, it looks like I'll be able to see the Sharingan in action, Zabuza noted as he turned to face Kakashi. Everybody keeps talking about Sharingan. Sharingan. Will someone please tell me what the heck that is? A confused Naruto pleaded. I'm with him on that one, Peter said from his place up in the trees. It's a rather rare dojutsu, or eye bloodline, Kakashi explained to his students. With it I can comprehend any taijutsu, ninjutsu, or genjutsu and reflect the attack back at the person using it. Come on Kakashi, if you're going to tell them, you might as well tell them the whole bit, Zabuza said from his place above the others. You only scratched the surface of what it can do. You see, brats, the Sharingan can analyze an opponent's technique and then copy it to the smallest detail. In the land of mist we had a standing order to kill you on sight, Kakashi. It read that you were the man that had copied over 1,000 jutsu. Kakashi the copy ninja. So we have a really famous ninja for a teacher then? Sakura questioned in surprise as she thought back to some of the things that they had seen their teacher do. As interesting as this has been though, I am not your teacher, Zabuza spat at the group. I need to kill that old man. Now! Tazuna froze in fear at hearing this. Peter backflipped and landed in front of the man while Naruto and Sakura ran to either side of him. One Manji formation as ordered, Peter said as they each drew kunai out and held them ready. Zabuza looked the group over. The genin were in guard formation around the target while Kakashi stood at the ready between him and the target. So I have to take you out first then, Kakashi? The ninja questioned as he then drew his giant sword and landed on the water. Once there, the genin watched in shock as he stood on the water, created a large amount of mist that blinded them. Ninja art. Hidden mist jutsu. He cried out as the mist blinded all of them. Great, now what? We can't even see him like this, Naruto complained. Remember what Kakashi told us about our senses, Sakura said nervously. Very good, Sakura, Kakashi said as he moved through the mist. So who is he? Sakura questioned. He's Zabuza Momochi, the former leader of the Hidden Mist Assassination Unit and a former member of the legendary 7 Swordsmen of the Hidden Mists, the elite fighting force of Kirigakure. The sword he uses is the infamous Kubikirabocho, or as it is also known, Sever Sword. He's a master of the silent killing technique. So be on your guards, he could show up anywhere, Kakashi warned the trio. On the plus side, if we fail we only lose our lives, he added with a bit of dark humor. How can you even say something like that? Sakura snapped out at the man. Well, it could be worse, Peter said with a grin. We could lose our dignity or even the money in the bank. Although the council will probably be pissed at you if I die without ever having a kid. True enough, Kakashi said, glad at least one of his students hadn't lost their sense of humor despite what they were facing. The man then disappeared into the mist before the eyes of his students. Whoa, did you see that? Naruto questioned in awe. Quiet, buddy. We need to concentrate, Peter said as he strained his senses to detect the attack that might come for them. Yeah, I don't want to die, Sakura said in agreement. 8 points, Zabuza's voice echoed through the mist. Larynx, spine, lung, liver, jugular, subclavian artery, kidneys, heart. Now, which will be my kill point? You really need to get yourself a new hobby, Sakura yelled out into the mist defiantly. Kakashi suddenly appeared as he sent a blast of chakra that made a hole in the mist around the group to see. The genin all swallowed nervously as they felt something from Kakashi that they weren't used to sensing. It was a dark and murderous feeling that rocked all of them somewhat. Stay steady, all of you, Kakashi advised them. I won't let him kill you. Gotcha, a voice called out, and suddenly Zabuza appeared next to Tazuna and began swing his blade in an arc that would take the genin and bridge builder out in a single reacted, bringing his kunai up even as Naruto and Sakura were knocked aside by Kakashi. The force of the blow was enough that it knocked his weapon away though and sent him flying into a nearby tree. Kakashi and Zabuza began playing the clone game with each other as two master assassins tried to outmaneuver each other with a combination of taijutsu and clone jutsus that altered the battlefield from moment to moment. Neither had needed the more powerful techniques as they used mid-level to low-powered methods to fight each other. The techniques were being used by masters of the art though. Man, I wish we could help, Peter said as he eyed the pair as they moved around each other. Well, why not? Naruto said as he readied his weapon. 2 reasons, Sakura said. 1, we would probably only get in the way. Kakashi has taught us to fight as a unit, but he hasn't taught us to fight with him yet. We're not anywhere near his level yet. And the other? Our orders were to guard Tazuna, Peter said as they watched the pair of elite ninja go at each other. Our job is to keep back and let things play out for now. Naruto nodded at what his friend said though by the set of his face you could tell that he didn't like what he was hearing. The group watched as the Zabuza managed to get through Kakashi's defenses and knocked him into the water. A few moments later and Kakashi was trapped within a giant water ball. The water prison jutsu, water as strong as steel, Zabuza gloated toward his captive. And now to finish off your little wannabe ninja. Water clone jutsu, he called as another copy of Zabuza rose out of the lake. Aren't you privileged, Kakashi? You have a front seat to the deaths of your little wannabe ninja. You're not the first wacko to call me a wannabe, Peter said as he got ready to fight. Please boy, as if you could ever be anything more. When you have been between life and death so many times it no longer phases you, then you may be called a ninja. Actually, I think I'll call that stupid. Peter returned at the ninja defiantly. Sometimes an ounce of common sense goes a long way toward beating the bad guy. Zabuza ignored the insult as he continued. When you have earned a place in my bingo book for being so deadly, then you may be called a ninja, but before you manage that, to call children like yourselves ninja is a joke. And yet you're not laughing. Naruto returned to him as he allowed his friend's humor to drift over to him. The mist suddenly came back in, and the genin were left blind once again. Pathetic, Zabuza said as he appeared in front of Naruto and kicked him in the head, sending his forehead protector flying. He then appeared next to Sakura. Weak, he growled as he backhanded the girl, sending her one way and her headband another. Wannabe, he finished as he appeared behind Peter, another kick, and the last headband went flying into the air. The 3 headbands landed in a pile where Zabuza stamped on the metal plates and ground them into the mud. You're not ninja, you're just brats, he mocked the group. Kakashi watched his team be decimated by the more powerful and experienced swordsman. Get the bridge builder and run, he ordered the group. This is a fight you cannot win. He won the moment he captured me. He can't get too far from the prison without letting me free, and the clone can only go so far from his real body. If you get away now, he can't follow. Now get going. Sorry, sensei, but leaving a teammate behind isn't really something I'm prepared to do, Peter said as he began moving at the clone. He leaped into the air and intended to land a kick in his face, but the clone easily caught him by the ankle and sent him hurling into the reached out and caught a tree branch and began spinning on the branch before releasing his grip and landing near the others. That could have gone better, the masked teen noted to his companions. My turn, Naruto said as he charged at the figure, yelling. As he drew closer to the clone, laughed at the rushing attack the boy was trying. Have you actually bothered to teach these fools anything about strategy, Kakashi? Zabuza asked from where the two of them were watching. The clone waited, and as the yelling boy got within range, he drove his fist into the boy's gut. Naruto spat up blood as the hit connected. You must be a glutton for punishment, boy, the clone said before pushing outward, sending the figure curled around his arm away from him. Naruto went rolling through the dirt to land by his friends. Naruto, are you all right? Sakura questioned the blonde. What were you thinking? Not even Sasuke could beat this guy. What hope did you think you had of charging at him like that? I had to do it, a shaking Naruto said, as he pushed himself back to his feet and displayed 3 headbands to the group. Nice, Peter congratulated as he and Sakura took their headbands from their teammate. All right, I'm almost impressed, Zabuza admitted to Kakashi. He took a blow like that just to retrieve what he wanted. If he wasn't such an annoying and useless twerp, otherwise I might even think that he had potential. He has more potential than you might believe. Kakashi returned to him. They all do. Naruto finally rose the rest of the way to his feet. Hey you, the freak with no eyebrows, Naruto said darkly, the humor and excitement now gone from his voice. Put this in your bingo book. The ninja that will become Hokage of the village, hidden in the leaves. He never backs down. The blonde paused to tie his headband back on. His name is Naruto Uzumaki, and his teammates are always right there with him, Peter said as he tied his own headband on. You said it, Sakura returned, as she secured hers. All right, we all in? Peter questioned and got answering nods. Yeah, let's go wild, Naruto said as he wiped his blood away. No, that is not your mission. Your mission is to protect the bridge builder, Kakashi said as he realized that his students were going to try and confront the swordsman. Now stay on mission and get him out of here now. The genin turned to look at the old man. Your call, old man. Do we stay and fight or make a run for it? Tazuna sighed as he looked from the determined faces of the ninja to the entrapped figure in the water bubble. I want to live, but I don't want to live at the cost of another's life, the man said. So go ahead and do what you have to do. That works for me, Peter said grimly. Team 7 assemble. Yeah, believe it, Naruto said with a smirk. You ready? You know it, Peter returned. Sakura, how about you? Give me the signal. The girl returned to her companions. You really think that you can take me on, me? Do you even know what you little play ninja are getting yourself into? Zabuza questioned the group. When I was your age, my hands were already soaked with blood, and you think 3 unblooded brats are gonna stop me now? You talk about how big and bad you are, but you've yet to do anything more than give a bit of a show, Peter mockingly told the swordsman. How about you show us what you're really capable of? Very well, little brat. The clone rushed forward, intent on slamming the masked figure into the ground. Peter easily cartwheeled out of the way of the attack. It'll take more than that, no brows. Yeah, but first you got to deal with me, Naruto said as he raised his hands. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 20 copies of Naruto appeared and attacked the water clone. The water clone caught the multiple attacks on his sword and pushed them back, causing expulsions that blinded the water clone. Now Sakura, the pink-haired girl, moved in and began throwing her kunai at the clone. The clone laughed as he blocked the attacks that the girl was sending their way. Here, Peter, Naruto said as he tossed a weapon toward his friend. Peter smirked as he took the weapon. Got you, buddy. Demon Wind Shuriken. He launched the weapon at the real Zabuza. The swordsman caught the weapon and then dodged the one hiding in its shadow. Still not good enough, the swordsman said. Really? Peter said with a grin as he then fired his webbing at the 2 weapons. Then maybe we should try something else. Swinging star attack, he said, swinging the weapons around. The clone tried to intercept the attacks, but Sakura's weapons kept it too busy from trying to stop the unknown attack. Falling star strike, Peter said as he swung the web line over his head one before bringing the star down, aiming it so that it would take the swordsman and cut him in half. Zabuza stepped closer and dodged the star. Nice try, boy, but you still missed, Zabuza crowed. Did I? Peter questioned. The shuriken puffed into Naruto, who came forward with his kunai in either hand. The surprised swordsman leaped away from the dagger attack that was aimed for his Achilles heel. The ninja came back down with the shadow shuriken leading. "I'll destroy," the man snarled, only for a white rope to grab him by the chest and jerk him forward. "Did you forget that this was a team effort?" Peter said as his fist caught the ninja in the chin and drove him back. Towards his clone, he slammed into the clone and it disappeared in a splash. Sakura fired 2 more kunai. The swordsman blocked them, but as one fell to the ground he gasped as he saw that there was an explosive tag attached to it. He placed his sword in between himself and the tag, letting the weapon take the brunt of the attack. "You brats just don't get it, do you?" Zabuza questioned as he stood up. "Despite all of your hard work, I'm still standing. Even with an explosive tag and all you managed was to singe my sword." He made a hand sign and suddenly the mist was back. "I'm done playing with you brats. Then take me on if you're such a big and bad ninja." Peter returned. "Sakura, you got the old man, Naruto, you've got sensei, right?" the two said as they checked on their charges, while Peter faced off against the demon of the hidden mist. There was no visibility, add in the long sword the guy had, and this fight just got a lot harder. The only thing going on for him was his slightly faster than average movements, and his odd ability to sense attacks as they were coming. "So tell me, swordman, what's your real reasoning for carrying that giant pig sticker of yours anyways? Is it to help compensate, or is it that you believe in the Texas philosophy of bigger is better?" he questioned while waiting for the attack. "I'm going to slice you to bits for that one." Zabuza snarled out at him as he appeared out of seemingly nowhere and began swinging his sword with blows that seemed to miss by mere centimeters. Despite himself, he was impressed with this laughing figure that managed to almost casually evade his silent killing technique that had destroyed much more skilled and capable ninja before this boy. The boy chuckled a bit at that as he continued to dodge the blows as they came at him from seemingly everywhere, yet he was able to move out of the way at just the last moment. "Oh, come on. Just for that? I thought that was already your plan when you started swinging that oversized meat cleaver at us," he mocked, as he actually landed on the flat of the blade and fired web sludge as Kakashi had dubbed it at the swordsman's face, trying to blind him. Zabuza was too quick though, and with a twist of his blade knocked him away and ruined his shot. Peter flipped off and fired more sludge over the blade in an attempt to make it less dangerous. The missing ninja used an elemental jutsu that froze the webbing, and then slammed the blade to the ground, causing frozen ice shards to fall off of the blade. "Huh, so much for that idea," Peter said as he flipped over the man and performed a mule kick with all of his might. Zabuza brought the sword around and blocked the kick, though he did slide back from the sheer force of the blow. "Between that odd web stuff and your strength, boy, you're almost worthy of the title of ninja. Until you can prove yourself as a ninja, though, you are a tool that any ninja would be proud to have in their arsenal." Zabuza complimented the genin before him. "Kakashi must be very glad yo have you as a weapon. Yeah, now that's a weird backhanded compliment if I've ever heard one. But none of it would have been possible without the team effort." Peter returned to the swordsman, as he blocked the sword with his bracers, and the two were locked in a contest of strength. Peter took a moment to look around him and noticed that the ground was littered with tree branches. If he wasn't careful, he could very well end up sliced and diced like the branches around them. "That's right, Peter, and I believe it's my turn to contribute to this fight," Kakashi said as he finally rose to his feet, having finally recovered his strength enough to continue the fight with Zabuza. "You heard the man," Peter said, shoving the swordsman away with an extra burst of strength that sent the swordsman sailing away. He then shot a web line up into the trees and launched himself away from the swordsman before he could attack again. The two experienced ninja were now facing each other. "The same tricks won't work a second time," Kakashi warned the ninja. "I was careless," Zabuza returned in annoyance. "No, you were outplayed by a bunch of children," Kakashi returned to him. "Whatever, let's do this," Zabuza growled as he flipped himself back onto the water, while Kakashi remained where he was on the shore. The two Jonin then began going through a series of hand signs. "Water-style water dragon jutsu," Zabuza said. "Earth-style earth dragon jutsu," Kakashi returned, and the two elemental creations rose out of the ground and lake and charged at each other. Man, talk about fighting dirty. Peter joked as he landed in front of Tazuna and created a web dome that they could hide under. While the elemental dragons were facing off, the two ninja were fighting below their creations with their blades. Kakashi with his kunai, while Zabuza used his sword. They battled for several more minutes, with Kakashi scaring the swordsman as he copied technique after technique. Kakashi finally finished it by slamming him with the Great Vortex Jutsu, and pinned him to a tree with several kunai. This battle is over, the ninja said as he looked down at the bloodied, stared in awe and fear at Kakashi. Before he could do anything else though, several seven needles came flying out of nowhere and struck the ninja in the neck, knocking him down. A quick check proved that he was dead. Impressive, Kakashi noted as a masked figure in a turquoise kimono appeared. Thank you, the figure said, bowing as the other ninja came out of the shelters that they had been hiding in during the battle. I must take his body now, the figure said. Who are you? Peter said as he eyed the figure curiously. His spider sense flared as the ninja turned to look at him. You want to not try that attack you're thinking of, he added, causing the ninja to take a step back in surprise. Easy, Peter, it's only a hunter ninja, Kakashi told his student. He only let us do the hard work, nothing unusual about that really. I've done it myself a time or two. Can't be too careful, Peter returned as he watched the ninja carefully. Hunter ninja? Naruto questioned while preparing himself for another fight. Naruto, you idiot. Hunter ninja work for ninja villages and return or kill rogue ninja. Sakura retuned to the blonde. If the two of you had been in class that day you would know these things. The girl harumphed at the pair. So sorry, we were a bit busy in the hospital that day being treated. Peter shot back in annoyance at the girl. He didn't care if Naruto did like the girl. He was not going to let anyone treat his friend and partner like that. Naruto had been impaled the night before, and if it hadn't been for his healing power and Peter webbing the wound closed until it healed enough, his friend might have bled out that night. Oh, Sakura said, looking somewhat embarrassed at having insulted her teammates when they had been sick. You are correct in my duties though, the masked figure said with a bow. Thank you again for doing most of the hard work, the hunter ninja said as he began checking the body over for any loose items. It will make processing the body less tiring for myself. He then grabbed the fallen swordsman and disappeared in a swirl of leaves. I don't trust that guy, Peter said to the others, getting an agreeing nod from Naruto. Oh please, the two of you are just jealous that he managed to do what the two of you couldn't. Sakura returned to them with a sniff. I wonder if Sasuke-kun would have been able to do it? She pondered out loud. Being as strong and cool as he is, I'm sure that he would have at the very least been able to make a shot like that, she gushed to the others. Naruto bowed his head in frustration over the Uchiha clan heir still being held over his head like this even when they were on separate teams. Peter, on the other hand, merely shook his head in disbelief at some of the things that came out of his teammate's mouth. Kakashi ignored the conversation and managed to make sure everyone was all right and lowered his headband back to its original spot. Come, we still have to get the bridge builder to his bridge, he told the group. You all did extremely well during your fight against Zabuza. You all showed a great skill in teamwork, planning, and ninja skills against a much more powerful and skilled opponent. Zabuza is classed as an A-rank ninja in the bingo book for a reason. The fact that you managed to keep the client safe and get me free from his water prison jutsu is no small feat to have accomplished. I will request a bonus and a commendation for each of you once we return to Konoha. The genin all smiled at hearing that. While I am not glad that you disobeyed a direct order, I am proud of your not being willing to leave a teammate and what I hope is a potential friend behind, he continued to praise the genin. Remember, those that don't follow the rules are trash. But those that abandon their friends are worse than trash, he said as he proudly looked his students over. He truly did have a team that had Obito's heart. That was something that he was very happy to have. Yeah, you're like the goofy uncle that is always trying to teach us things. We couldn't just let you die, Peter said with a grin. As he said that, the image of a middle-aged man came to mind. I prefer the saying of, with great power comes great responsibility. My own self, though. He shook his head in confusion. Where did that come from? I don't know, but I do like it, Kakashi assured the genin. Whoever told you it was a very wise person. Now we need to get going. Yeah, you can even stay at my place because of all of the trouble that I've caused you. Tazuna offered with a weak chuckle. Yeah, well, considering all the trouble this mission has caused us, it's more than the least that you can do, old man. Sakura muttered in annoyance as she put her weapons away. Well, that takes care of that problem then. Kakashi said. The man turned and headed down the path. He only made it a couple of steps before he started swaying and fell down unconscious. Sensei! The genin cried out as they rushed to the side of their fallen, quickly checked his vitals. He's alive, she told them. I think that he's suffering from physical, mental, and chakra exhaustion, she said, guessing slightly while she and Peter performed basic field medicine on their teacher. Yet another time a trained medic of some sort would have been useful to them on this mission, the girl thought to herself. First Naruto's hand, and now Kakashi-sensei falling over. Perhaps she should up some of her knowledge when she got back to the village if all of their missions ended up like this. We should probably make a stretcher, she said. Why bother? I can just carry him, Peter said as he moved to heft the man up on his shoulders. No, you can't, Tazuna said, moving to stop him. What if he's injured somewhere else, or what if there's another attack? You won't have the time to set him down or put him somewhere safe if that were to happen, the bridge builder informed the youngster. Until you know these things, it's best not to move him around too much. Oh yeah. Didn't think about that, Peter sheepishly admitted to the others. So what do we do? Naruto questioned the bridge builder. We can't just leave him here. You kids make a stretcher is what you do, the old man informed them. While you're doing that, I'll try and make comfortable as I can. One of the few benefits of not having any money is that we know how to do without things like doctors, the old man said grumpily. Right? The trio said as they disappeared and came back with several long branches and leaves. Thanks to the battle, there were plenty of supplies for them to use. Using ninja wire and webbing, they quickly had a stretcher made. The group then began the trip to the small village and the bridge. Once there, they got him to the bridge builder's house, where his daughter quickly prepared a room for the ninja to rest in.